Alhamdulillah. Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all. It's nearly approaching 8:50, so I welcome everyone for our session today. In fact, this is a very special webinar, which highly recommended by our TNCAA, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic and International UTeM, is because the needs of the content itself, the subject matter itself. The session of our webinar today is can we have the poster? So everybody is aware that today our webinar is on guidelines for development of online examination questions. And in fact, this is a very timely topic because I think everyone is starting to prepare or had already prepared for the midterm examination questions, which I am not yet be able to complete it, still struggling to do it. And also we are in the middle of preparing for the final exam questions, which is in lieu of about one week ahead. So indeed, it is a very timely for us to have this sharing by two of our most experienced and with vast experience speakers regarding academic matters. We have, Alhamdulillah, we have Prof. Dr. Zamberi Jamaludin, the Dean of Faculty of Manufacturing Engineering, which had agreed to share with us on the above topic, as well as we have Associate Professor Dr. Hidayat Zainuddin, the Director, Center for Strategy, Quality and Risk Management, to share with us on the topic. Prof. Dr. Zamberi will share with us his opinion and strategies on how we can design an open-ended questions, where PM Dr. Hidayat is going to highlight us on the strategies for open book exam question using higher order thinking skills. At the end of the session, we will have a question and answer session, but bear in mind that we also have the chat section where all participants, academic staff members can post the question over there, and PM Dr. Mariam will help us to go through the questions and throughout to the speakers throughout the session. But you can also unmute your mic and ask directly to both our professors and PM Dr. Hidayat for further clarification. Okay, before we start with the opening remarks, with the video recorded, pre-recorded video from our TNCAA, I would like to invite Prof. Dr. Faiza with a short opening on the importance of today's webinar. Please, Prof. Dr. Faiza.
Terima kasih, Jerry. Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Okay, so today we are very happy to have these webinar sessions, and I hope that every one of you will take this opportunity to learn on how to construct, on how to do the proper online examination questions. And we understand that everyone are quite busy. Now we are in week 5. And now is about time actually to really seriously looking at the quality of the teaching and learning, not only on the content, but also on the assessment and also on the supervision for our remote students. Yeah. So I really hope that we can take this opportunity, because top management actually now they are very serious. They want all the academicians to take serious in terms of the delivery of our teaching and learning. So I really I'm very proud to have our deans, Prof Zam to share about the open-ended question and also the quality, our quality guy. Dr. Hidayat will share about the strategies for open book exam. So I hope that this session will be benefit to everyone. And I'm also can see that from the list of the participants, some of the deans, director, and also Deputy Deans and KJ, Head of Department are here with us. So I really appreciate your attendance, and CAES will keep sharing information related to the teaching and learning. Yeah? So I hope that this session will be benefit to everyone. Okay, enjoy the session and make use this opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Okay, back to Jariah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Prof. Izzal, for highlighting us the importance of attending this webinar. Okay, next we will listen to our pre-recorded video of our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and International, Prof. Dr. Zulkifli bin Ibrahim. Please, Hisham, can you please share the pre-recorded video?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, syukur kepada Allah Ta'ala. Pertama sekali saya mengambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada semua pensyarah dan juga kepada mereka yang terlibat terutama staf sokongan bagi menjayakan kita punya teaching and learning dan juga assessment pada semester lepas itu semester 2 semester 2 sesi 2019 dan 2020. Jadi alhamdulillah kita telah laksanakan semua tanggungjawab kita, keputusan pun telah diendorse oleh Senat. Jadi saya nak maklumkan ada beberapa perkara hasil daripada aktiviti tersebut, keputusannya nampak ada peningkatan dari segi pencapaian pelajar-pelajar, terutama berkaitan dengan anugerah pendidikan dan sebagainya Jadi di sini saya, sebab hari ini prosesnya online learning ni sepatutnya berterusan. Berterusan maksudnya CQI itu perlu berlaku. Jadi insyaAllah pada semester ini juga kita juga melaksanakan dia punya aktiviti PNP juga secara online seperti mana keputusan dalam mesyuarat wajib menteri itu semalam. Kemudian insyaAllah kita akan juga melaksanakan assessment, continuous assessment dan juga final exam secara online juga online insyaAllah pada Januari dan akhirnya Februari. Jadi bagi tujuan untuk CQI kita perlu juga melengkapkan pensyarah-pensyarah kita, terutama pensyarah kita dari segi content development dia, kemudian dia punya delivery yang penting, kemudian dia punya assessment. So 3 komponen ni. Jadi untuk tujuan itu CAES sebagai dia punya center yang bertanggungjawab untuk develop staffnya kompetensi dari segi teaching and learning telah menyediakan lebih kurang dalam 15 modul. 5 modul untuk delivery, 5 modul untuk content dan juga 5 modul untuk assessment. Jadi kali ini sesi ini adalah berkaitan dengan open book exam, open book exam. Jadi antara objektif modul yang akan dilaksanakan secara online oleh penceramah dia daripada pakar dalaman. Antara objektif dia yang penting kita nak tingkatkan kompetensi staf akademik kita supaya betul-betul kompeten dari segi knowledge-nya, skill, attitude, sebab ini melibatkan content dan juga delivery. So sebelum ni kita ada face to face dan kali ini kita ada online. Jadi sepatutnya quality content, quality delivery itu sepatutnya samalah kita maintain, sebab dia memberi impact yang besar kepada quality graduation buat kita Jadi dengan sebab itu antara dia juga objektif untuk modul ni untuk bagi tujuan integriti integriti penting staf akademik kita dan juga integriti kepada para pelajar Jadi untuk mengelakkan misconduct aktiviti yang misconduct tadi, contohnya meniru dan sebagainya. Jadi kita perlu strengthen kita punya bentuk soalan final exam dan juga modul-modul yang apa tu orang kata penilaian secara berterusan tadi itulah. Jadi dengan ini kita melengkapkan kita punya apa tu persyarat-persyarat supaya lebih kompeten lah menyediakan betul soalan-soalan yang berbentuk open-ended dan dia juga akan mengukur kreativiti pelajar lah, bukan saja untuk mengelakkan ataupun meminimumkan misconduct, tetapi tujuan open-ended exam ni sebenarnya dia mengukur juga level kompetensi pelajar. Itu yang lebih penting sebab soalan dia soalan mungkin sama tapi jawapannya mungkin berbeza-beza. Jadi akan kita apa tu bina seperti mana yang semester lepas lah, tapi kali ini kita nak pastikan apa tu level soalan open-ended ni mencapai minimum requirement lah kita, sebab impact dia kepada kualiti dan juga akreditasi nanti. Akreditasi sebab kita ada 3 program, engineering program, teknologi program dan juga BTech program. Jadi kita tak nak memberi kesan kepada proses akreditasi kita lah. Dan sebenarnya kehadirannya wajib lah. Kita ada senarai semua bicara yang hadir pada modul-modul yang lepas, kita ada senarai, dan kali ini kita pun insyaAllah ada senarai yang kita keluarkan oleh CAES dan kehadirannya adalah wajib. Kemudian sebelum ni CAES juga ada buat sesi online untuk cover 15 modul tadi, dan perkara tersebut modul-modul tersebut boleh diakses terus di database CAES lah, supaya kita sentiasa retrain kita punya staff dan sebagainya lah, supaya kita tambah baik, sebab ini new norm kita. Sebelum ni kita apa tu memang fokus pada teaching and learning secara face to face, sebab kali ini environmentnya berubah, toolnya berubah, kaedah penyampaiannya berubah, bukan sahaja berubah oleh apa tu pesyarat, juga berubah dari perspektif student lah kan. Jadi begitu. Jadi juga saya sarankan universiti telah keluarkan beberapa perkeliling dan juga guideline yang telah diluluskan oleh Senat berkaitan dengan deliverynya, kontennya, guideline untuk teaching and learning dan sebagainya, kaedah dan sebagainya tu yang dikeluarkan oleh PSTP. Jadi saya mohon fakulti follow up dan baca balik, menghayati guideline tersebut supaya membantu untuk apa tu melincinkan pelaksanaan aktiviti PMP dan juga yang penting assessment. Kemudian saya mohon juga rekan-rekan supaya apa tu activate jantung kuasa yang berkaitan teaching and learning ni, supaya juga disampaikan ataupun retrain kepada pesara-pesara di fakulti lah. Itu sangat penting supaya maklumat-maklumat ataupun polisi ataupun guideline telah dilaksanakan oleh universiti, kursus-kursus yang telah kita laksanakan, sama ada kita jemput pakar dalam ataupun pakar luar, boleh diguna sama dan akhirnya meningkatkan kompetensi kita punya modul dan sebagainya lah, kompetensi dari segi teaching and delivery. Jadi saya kata selamat menghadiri kursus ini, dan bila kita dah laksanakan modul ini akan direkod dan akan disebar di CAES, dan mereka-mereka yang tak dapat ada kesempatan untuk hadir disebabkan boleh ada sesi kuliah dan sebagainya, jadi mungkin boleh access lah, boleh replay balik, tengok balik intipati dia, menghayati dan cuba apply dalam bentuk teaching and learning kita, dan juga yang paling penting assessment kita. Jadi itu saja dari ucapan daripada saya. Sekian, terima kasih.
Alhamdulillah, we have already listened to the importance point that being highlighted by our Deputy Vice Chancellor. Among it is, I believe we, as an academic staff, we know the intention of our participants today is to retrain ourselves as what being suggested by Prof. Zul just now. We are going, due to the online mode of teaching, remote teaching, we need to also practice our lifelong learning abilities by keep on retraining ourselves. And one of the things that we need to look ahead and get more opinion and get more exposure on it is online examination question. So for this, I believe that Prof. Dr. Zambri is already prepared to share with us. Let us first know. Let me introduce Prof. Dr. Zambri. I think we should not have me myself have been have known Prof. Dr. Zambri for a long time. This Prof. Dr. Zambri have joined UTeM, I think one of the pioneer staff in UTeM. And now Prof. Dr. Zambri is a Dean for Faculty of Manufacturing Engineering. Prof. Zam received his PhD in Catholic University of Leuven in 2008. Regarding academic matters, Prof. Zam has a very vast experience. He has been the head of department for robotics and automation, dealing with accreditation issues, academic curriculum setup, and then academic revision, curriculum revision, and all that. And then he also have a very vast experience on becoming Deputy Dean of Academic. I kind of kind of not remember that duration because it's quite long since I first joined UTeM. I think Prof. Zam has very vast experience in academic. He has also been served as external examiner for various programs. So we are fortunate to learn from Prof. Dr. Zam today on how we can design an open-ended question. So with that, I invite Prof. Dr. Zamberi Jamaludin to begin our learning on open-ended question. To you, Prof. Dr. Zam.
Thank you, PM Dr. Jariah, for the very nice introduction. Firstly, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all staff of UTeM. I'm very segan sebenarnya PM Jariah. I still believe that when you first invited me to have this session and sharing this session with other colleagues at UTeM, I still believe that there are many other experts out there internally at UTeM. But however, my deep appreciation to CAES, Prof. Aiza, PM Jariah, PM Mariam, and also, of course, our TNCA for giving me the trust to share for 1 hour based on my experience as KJ, TDAs, and Dean. And I hope that at the end of the session, of this 1 hour session, whatever that I share would be a benefit to all of us. As Prof. Zul mentioned earlier and echoed by PM, Prof. Aiza and PM Jariah, we are in a different situation from last March. Something that for most of us, something new, even to myself. And we have gone through one cycle, meaning that our final exam session in the last session was conducted basically 100% online, except for some faculties whereby they have switched the final exam to assessment, final assessment. So based on that first experience internally, even at the faculty level, and I'm sure in many other faculties, we have seen that there is an urgent need for us to upgrade our. I'm not saying that the quality is not there, but there are room for improvement. Could be further improved. I hope this session will be benefit not only because I'm coming from the background of engineering. I hope it will be very useful to other fields, for example, engineering technology, ICT, and entrepreneurship, and so forth. Based on the first time that we conducted the final exams, one of the main concern by, for example, EAC through their circulars is that how the Institute of Higher Learning ensure that the integrity of the students answering those questions. So that is a very major concern. So we have we need to ensure that our assessments with highest integrity possible in such a way that whatever feedback output that we receive from the students really match that something that we expected. So we have seen the result, as Professor mentioned, from the last session, and there are a lot of interesting findings based on those results. Hopefully, we could improve further, and I hope again you could stop me anytime during this session. Since this is what I will try to do is that I will start off with some basic idea about why this session is really important for us. And I will start with some basic introduction about what is open-ended questions, and what is. I will start with close-ended question first, so that we are clear about which is which. And again, later I will try to elaborate on what are the criteria that people use in literature, basically, to identify open-ended questions. Okay, I will try to spend more time with regard to samples of questions from the last semester, and I hope that we could basically discuss together in terms of our understanding about whether this is an open-ended or a close-ended questions. Okay, so I will start off with some simple slides that I have prepared the last 2 days. So please forgive me for the quality of the slides. Let me share the slide first. All right. No need to introduce myself. Okay. The title is basically the development of open-ended questions. Okay. And this is something that Prof. Zul have mentioned just now, which is in terms of the 3 important documents that we have to refer. Very important documents. Number 1 is Garis Panduan Pelaksanaan Perperiksaan Akhir dalam Talian. I think this is owned by PSTP with 2 lampiran, different lampiran. Lampiran 1, Garis Panduan Pelaksanaan Perperiksaan Akhir dalam Talian. And number 3, also lampiran 1, but it's a different document. Online teaching and learning and assessment. Okay, this is the English version. So please do look at these guidelines carefully, and hopefully it's a good basis for us to start preparing our questions. All right, motivations and why we are doing this, as I've mentioned just now. Basically, there is a very urgent need for us to. This is not the first time that we are preparing questions, of course, but we are preparing the question in such a different way. Before this, we are preparing question for the face-to-face session, whereby a student come to the exam halls and they by themselves will start answering the questions that we prepared. So, and we have done that for many years. However, when it comes to online examinations, there is a special need for us, whereby we need to ensure that the students who are answering the questions are addressing the issues that we are really focusing at. Okay, it might be that we might be asking the same questions, but we have to ask it in a different manner, such a way that we eliminate any possibility of the students sharing or working together in answering those questions. So these are our real, for example, our real threat to the credibility of our final exams process. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the next 1 or 2 minutes is just to read out I found out a very good paper from UTeM, how to construct open-ended questions. So this is the basis of part of my presentation this morning. So the punya intipati is basically like this. All institutions offering engineering programs, because this paper is from the engineering department. So it's not only limited to engineering, of course. We are faced with significant challenges, especially in preparing students so that they can receive information. So this is the PDP, the teaching and learning, learn the technology, the principle and the practice of engineering or other fields, as well as adapting to the rapid changing needs. So even though this paper is an old paper, 2012, but somehow it's very relevant to our current situation now. So if you look at this line, okay, the criteria target set by the Engineering Accreditation Council, EAC, and the MQA. So this is basically the main reason that why we need this kind of a session, so that there are requirements on the fact that whatever that we do will be scrutinized by the auditors, and we have to prepare with tough questions in terms of how we ensure the validity of our findings. Okay, so students must be able to process information actively, okay, and critically evaluate them in order to achieve the high level of professional skill. Okay, apart from the use of teaching and learning strategies, assessment method, okay, such as open-ended question, to the open-ended question from higher learning of Bloom taxonomy. So we're going to look at relationship between open-ended question and the Bloom taxonomy. So it can be used to develop the necessary professional skill. So one of the things that struck me, struck me earlier is that can we produce, like, for example, open-ended question for year 1 students, those who are currently registered, who are still learning the ropes of higher institution students, whereby we can see that whatever that we do in our exams, whatever question that we selected, this is basically based on our CLO, like course learning outcomes. And that CLO is being designed according to the Bloom taxonomy. So there are, of course, Bloom taxonomy that are of a lower level, level 1, until the higher level, level 6, evaluation and so forth. So we could discuss in terms of that, in terms of the challenges in constructing the open-ended question with regard to the Bloom taxonomy and CLO requirements, right? So basically, again, integrity, this is the main issue. We know that there is always a possibility for the student to get together and answering together the question. So we need to really ensure that we really assess individual students' knowledge, skills, and the way they understand the topic. Okay. Again, reliability, accuracy, and relevancy of whatever data that we collected. So in the last session, we have noticed that there is a big jump in terms of the the university have looked at the number of Dean's List, okay, students who have received Dean's List, and we have seen that there is a let me see, there is something on my screen. Okay, we have seen that there is issues in terms of whether the data that we receive, and we have seen a big spike in terms of students performing well. That there's a good findings, but however, we have to ensure that this is inaccurate findings. Okay, it's something that we can rely on and really match our expectation. All right. So why basically this is a basic question. Why we are asking question? Basically, even in conversation, when we converse with another colleague, basically this is in terms of conversation. We are conversing with our students. Okay, the reason is we want to gather information regarding the topic matters, which is a subject related matter. It's a form of conversation. People here is what we refer to, which is people is the students, and conversation here is through the exams questions. Okay, it could be in the exam question, could be in terms of the assessment, the continuous assessment, and so forth. So we are asking questions as our tool, okay, in order to assess the student knowledge on specific topics and subject. Okay, so the important thing here is that whenever we design the questions, we always have to keep in mind that we are asking the right questions. Okay, and how do we do this? Okay, that's why in our vetting process, we look at the mapping of the question to the CLO. Okay, so we have to ensure that we are asking the right questions, meaning that the questions that can be related to the achievement of the course learning outcome of that particular subject. And are we asking the right in the right manner? Okay, are we asking the question? Are we constructing the questions in a way that would answer the CLO? Okay, accurately, reliably. So, and the conclusion that we could extract from the findings that we obtain once we have assessed the questions would be very critical. Okay, whether that conclusion is valid or not. Okay, that will be the main focus of the why we have to understand or why we have to clearly know about developing this kind of question. Okay, so I will start with close-ended. Okay, the next few slides is basically trying to compare between close and open-ended. Okay. Okay, close-ended question is basically it can be answered by we have a limited number of options. Okay, limited number of options. It's basically yes or no. That mean that the answer is a fact. Macam satu je jawapan kan. Or kalau multiple choice, yes or no. Or if you are using rating, or if it is a calculation multiplication based exams, question is still like a fixed answer. Okay, so that is basically what close-ended questions are. It's narrow in focus. Maybe can be answered in single word or very simple kind of a solution. However, we will look also that the question could be elaborate, okay, but it is still be considered as a close-ended questions. So they are basically used to obtain facts. So and very specific pieces of information. So it's very focused. Okay, that is why we have close-ended question. So I'm not saying that close-ended question is not good, but it serves another purpose. Okay, it might be okay in the face-to-face mode. But however, when we have an open and online mode of assessment, there are other criteria that we have to meet. That's why we have to have question in the form of open-ended. Okay, so basically of close-ended question, they don't encourage people to elaborate. Soalannya basically straightforward. Okay, calculate this and this and this, you got an answer. There is no part of the question that basically asks the student to elaborate. So that's basically close-ended. Among other things is standardized response, a lot of memory-based responses. We have the response is basically nearly equal to by all respondents. Ini yang isunya. So when we have close-ended questions, we will receive basically nearly equal type of answer from all the respondents. Jadi when we want to check on the integrity, it's very difficult for us to ensure that it comes from that particular students. Okay, so that's why. However, close-ended question is faster to administer. Of course, it is easier to construct. Basically, it's like a textbook questions, and faster to mark. Of course, all have very fixed answers, so we have a good, basically an easier time to mark. And we have seen this with with the online exams last time, whereby most lecturers have difficulties in completing their marking on time. Okay, because of the nature of us marking all those questions. Okay, so avoid question with the following characteristic. Question that answered by providing some facts, easy to answer questions, answer that can be given quickly, and require little or not thought at all. Okay, all right. Open-ended. So let's come to the main focus of this talk. All right. Open-ended questions, the question that cannot be answered. So meaning that they tak ada simple yes or no, of course, and it does not require instant respondent punya elaboration okay, on their point. They require respondent to elaborate. There is a lot more elaboration, meaning that student kena elaborate. They have to tell more about their answers compared by just simply calculate and so open-ended question is basically it start with this kind of words. These are the basically the terms that we normally avoid in OBE kan. Normally kita diajar supaya don't use why, don't use how in this kind of the way of you asking, but this is basically what open-ended question is. It is basically dia tanya tentang why something is this, how, and what if something like that. We will go into detail about this. So basically, when you look at the question, you will know that the student will need to pause for a while. Okay, then we need to think basically, and they have to do some reflection. Meaning that we really assess their critical thinking about how to proceed by in answering the questions. Okay, so it will not be facts. Okay, normally it will not be facts. It could be facts. Okay, I'm not saying that it will not always be facts, but they have involved a lot of opinions, ideas lah, about the subject or about the matter. Okay, and broad, it can be answered in detail. For example, paling senang, what do you think about this product? There can be a lot of answers that will be generated as an output of this kind of questions. Okay, it is basically designed to encourage full, meaningful, deliberate answers. We want detailed explanation and enable respondent to answer as they wish. Maknanya the student have the ability to answer as they wish. A lot of elaboration. That's why when it comes to the marking part, we have a longer time to mark. Okay, so this is a very simple that I took from one of the slides online. Just like share. Okay, let's take a look on the left side. This is an example of a closed loop question. This is mathematics basically. So we have a lot of mathematics lecturers. When we talk with them, normally I found out that there is difficulties of whether we can convert mathematics equation into open-ended. Okay, how can we do this? This is a very nice example, and as a prelude to what we're going to do. Okay, it may be of a lower level, but don't be disturbed about that. But the idea about how to convert closed loop question that we are very used to something which is open-ended question. Okay, look, let's take a look at the first example here. This is very straightforward, kan? Which of the following numbers are prime? They bagi option 7, 57, 66. This is very straightforward question. There is meaning that other maybe a very fixed answers, kan? Then we can be converted to open-ended. The same question will be converted. For example, dia tanya Fred thinks that 57 and 66 are prime because they both end in 7. This is the question, okay? Which is a prime number. The question is being switched. It's being rewrite into something which is like macam case study kurang. So and then another person says he is wrong. So who is correct and why? So they become open-ended. Now the student need to elaborate. Okay, they need to give some explanation about who is right, who is wrong, and they must elaborate why. Okay, then it becomes an open-ended question. Okay, that's straightforward. So every person will have a different answers. Okay, and next, what are the next three numbers? This is also a lower level question, might not be for us, but the idea is it is a straightforward question. We could convert this to open-ended. For example, consider the following sequence. Basically, this is the same question. So we are asking it differently. So each 100 is a number of the sequence. Explain your reasoning. Okay. Basically, it is try to they still try to assess students' knowledge about their understanding about the fact that there is a difference of 3 again. Tapi it becomes a bit more abstract when it asks some numbers and then the student need to explain. Okay, and so forth lah, macam terakhir ni pun macam tu. Find the LCM of 18 and 24, and then why can't 48 be the LCM? And then they try to get the beauty about open-ended question is that we are able to assess the students' higher order thinking. Okay, I have the benefits of sitting for an oral exams, final exams. Okay, whereby in my previous studies, the setting of the question is open-ended and also with oral. So since we don't have oral examination here, so we don't have the chance to personally ask the student about how do you understand about it, how do you explain your answers. So which is something very nice, but which is something very difficult to do if you have a very big class. So when we convert this to open-ended question, we have that opportunity, meaning that the student have the opportunity to come to us and explain the answers. So this is one of the beauty to me with regard to open-ended questions. Okay, this is from the same paper, which is referred to another paper, Kuni, 2004. Again, this is it's an old concept, but which is very relevant here. So basically, our question is, apa yang kita selalu tanyakan, what is open-ended questions? We have an idea, but let's take a look at, I think I have list 4 very important features. Basically, these are the features. So number 1, it involves a significant concept. Maknanya ada concept that we try to gather from the students. What is related to the field. So we give the student a chance to display the understanding. So by linking the entire topic and how it lead to real world problem solving. So then it must involve some concept that we are trying to answer. This is basically our CLO lah kat sini. What the thing that we want to do ni. There could be multiple answers. This is a very important thing. There could be, basically there must be multiple answers. Okay. Multiple answer mean that's why they open-ended kan, dia terbuka, dia tak fix in terms of one answers. So this is something that very easy for us to check whether this is open-ended or not. So when a question requires one correct answer, meaning that they're close-ended kan, students often conclude there's only one way to solve the problems. So there are of course many different ways to solve the problem. So kalau kita bagi always or close-ended question, then the thinking of the student is that maybe this is the only way that we could solve these particular problems. So by having, by training the students in open-ended question, we have the opportunity to teach the students that out there in the field, as they graduated later on, there is also other possible solutions. And there is a requirement for the student to explain their thinking, okay, about why they are adapting to that particular answers. To ni kena relate. So this is basically the ability of us to check the higher level thinking of our student. So the need to communicate the reasoning, okay, the need. So that's why we have. Kalau awal tadi saya mention the need to have why, how, what if, and so forth. All right, should be clearly stated. So okay, this is important. The student must be must clearly understood that this is an open-ended questions. Dia kena tahu, and they must be ready to answer these open-ended questions. So on the part of us as a lecturers, we must ensure that we train the students through our pre-assessment. For example, in class assignments, quiz might not be a good example. Maybe exercises in class, examples in class, that we train the student that, okay, this is the form of open-ended question. Kita nanti dia terkejut. Kalau tak nanti in exam, suddenly they look at the questions and they never been through this kind of assessment, dan dia akan terkejut and they have difficulties to really address the issues. Okay, so that is the criteria. So I'm explaining some of the I'm sharing, of course, some of the top templates, which I obtained from this nice online ni tu boleh tuan-tuan puan boleh check. So this is somehow we convert our close-ended kepada open-ended. Okay, dia ada, as I said, there are a lot of why, what dan sebagainya. For example, why do the process is like this? Why do the design like this? Explain your answer. What are some possible explanation as to why you are selecting this material, for example, can? So there could be a pre-question before this. There might be do some calculation, for example, okay? But at the end of it, kita tanya balik, okay? Would other parameter, for example, would other be affected by this selection? Okay, why or why not? Maknanya the student must elaborate. Okay, contoh lagi, how does changing this specification impact on your final design, contoh, okay, and support your answer. So support daripada information, reading, chart and so forth. Yang ini can be related to what PM Hidayat akan talk nanti lah, open book questions. So open book is another form of, that's another method kan. So dia can related, but then student will have to gather information from the resources that are available out there and to get the answers, okay? And tell what, okay, meaning that kita bagi comment, what is wrong and how would you, meaning kat sini mungkin dia bagi satu case studies, okay, people have done this, and then the student look at that case studies and then dia kena give his or her opinion about maybe what's wrong with that particular design, what's wrong with that particular conclusion or something like that. Kan, would you design it in a better way? How? Right? So it becomes an open-ended. Jadi maknanya kalau student tu kalau dia nak if you have a negative perception pun, kalau dia nak tiru pun, it will be difficult kan. But should be a different kind of answer lah for different particular students. Idea might be the same, but the way that they put it should be different. Okay, explain how you arrive at your answer. Ini maknanya dekat sini mungkin ada assumptions. How do you conclude? How do you arrive at your answer by using pictures ke words ke equation? Meaning like this is more like mathematics. Okay, saya faham a lot of our mathematician got difficulty, but kita dalam matematik ni selalu kita tanya soalan direct. Kan, find the integration of this, calculate, solve kan, differential equation. Banyak kan, jadi dia basically matematik ni macam close-ended. Can we convert that to open-ended? Of course we can. Alright, this is one way of rewriting our questions such that it become macam open-ended. Predict is a very nice verb, can predict and describe, meaning that mungkin we give another case studies ke, scenario ke apa ke, and the student must predict the outcome. When they predict, they must justify, they must describe, support and defend the answers. So yang ini yang jadi dia apa, the higher level thinking. Okay, why they are predicting this as their output, as what something that they have chosen. Okay, and another one, this is also a nice one. Discuss the likelihood that, ini macam predict jugalah. What is again and the likelihood that this particular scenario took place. Okay, macam mana kalau tiba-tiba ini berlaku, then what would be the outcome, alright? Or we could give information, a lot of information in the form of chat, graphic tools and so forth, and kita tanya balik dekat dalam chat tu, what is true? How can you comment on the trend? Can you comment on this thing? So this is another way of we converting something that normally mungkin kita bagi table dengan data tu, kita minta student jawab kan, gunakan that as a base of our as a student's data. Tapi we could put it differently, meaning that the student look at the data, maybe they have to come out with some explanation, maybe some trend and so forth lah. Jadi that's one way of how we convert, okay, straightforward before this and the close-ended question into an open-ended question. Another way, banyak soalan yang banyak contoh-contoh soalan yang bagi saya is a good way of we changing the way that we ask question to the open-ended ni. Suppose you want to suppose you want to tanya, suppose you want to develop a product, okay, and make a list or something like that, and tell you why you choose particular this. Okay, contoh kita bagi satu scenario, we would like to have a machine a certain part, okay, and with this criteria, contoh kan ada kriteria dia kena dia punya stiffness, dia punya strength and so forth, and maybe you could suggest the material that is specific for that particular requirement, ni contoh or if you had to, contohnya pun macam ni juga, ni macam opinion lah ni. Right, if you had to design something like this, which would you suggest? Give suggestion, explain your answer. Okay, make a graph. Ini macam mathematics lah, showing. Okay, Bukan just make a graph, bagi data buat graph itu close-ended kan. Just applying a graph, everybody will get the same answer kan. Maknanya kalau kita bagi data dan minta budak buat student buat graph, then we can have only one question, one answer. That is close-ended. But maybe we ask the student to create a graph by having this particular characteristic contohnya, with some maybe they can create some formula ke, equation ke, and so forth. Alright, so dia terbalik. So ataupun would you rather have this or this? Mana kita this, we give the option to the student. Contoh, would you like to have this design 1, okay, or design 2, okay, based on these requirements, okay, and tell why. In the mathematics differently, okay, maybe you want to have a different. Saya bukan mathematician, but I think in mathematics maybe some of tuan-tuan perempuan kat sana mathematician will have ada option kan, maybe parameters ni ke, portion ni ke, sebagainya. Kita ask student tu nak pilih, would you rather yang ini ke ataupun yang ini, and then tell why. Okay, what could be done about contoh, and give reason for your answer. So maybe in one template tu dia kata there is a issue, okay, what would you suggest to do? Can give reason for your answer. Right, compare the tell which ni bentuk comparison. Sometimes kita buat comparison ni dalam bentuk contoh list kan, discuss the advantage and disadvantage of ni. Itu kan macam memory wise kan, kita in online kita tak boleh tanya soalan level macam tu. But maybe we could do it in different way. Kita minta dia compare and maybe some scenario ke apa, and then tell which is most likely to happen ke and least likely to happen ke, and support your answers. Okay, ini
Prof.
yeah, Prof.
Zam, can I just
Yes, saya.
interrupt you for a while?
Boleh,
So we
boleh.
have a few questions in the chat.
Okay,
So
boleh.
I'm going to read the question. So this is from Dr. Zainuddin. So
Okay.
she mentioned about open-ended question, multiple sets question, does not she mentioned that does not solve integrity issue based on last semester implementation. So what is your suggestion on this? If
Okay.
because for example you are talking about open-ended question right now. So
Yes.
how can we actually go about regarding the integrity issue of students when answering
Okay.
this question?
Okay, thank you, Mariam. This is a very good question. It's a very difficult question juga. So integrity student ni one thing that we cannot ensure 100% unless we have a video we're capturing students answering the exam question kan. Unless we have that, all the students have the facilities, then we can 100% ensure that student with higher integrity answering the questions. So what we could do is we try to reduce the risk of student sharing their information in terms of answers tadi. So kalau close-ended, that maybe some of us very used to. Close-ended ni dia dapat data-data, saya akan bagi contoh, banyak contoh saya dah sediakan. Dia akan dapat all the data kan, given this and this, calculate, solve for. Jadi if one student can get that information, dia akan berlaku ada kemungkinan dia akan share. Okay, and everybody will get the same answer. Maknanya jawapannya sama, satu. Okay, regardless of kita tukar value, apa yang kita buat, even di FKP pun last time, we because of the large population, kan, sebab FKP dan fakulti lain pun ada subjek yang mana fakulti lain pun ambil subjek yang sama. So one of the method being used at that time was that kita tukar nombor. Katakan sampel 1, katakan S equal 2, sampel 2 S equal 5, sampel 3 S equal 10 contohnya. But that does not eliminate the risk of student copying. Okay, itu bukan open-ended, but still whatever question, whatever version that we have, they still come out to one specific answer. Jadi dia bukan open-ended. Jadi apa yang kita kena buat sebenarnya, kita belajar, walaupun kita buat multiple set with different numbers pun, dia bukan open-ended. Okay, dia kena tukar soalan tu supaya everybody will have they have to think. Okay, kalau dia meniru, dia memang dia akan dapat jawapan yang betul tu sama. Jadi kita boleh tangkap lah, kita boleh nampak. Kalau dia tiru soalan yang close-ended tu, kita susah nak ni kan, tu jalan kerjanya. Itu yang kita boleh buat lah with open-ended question. I hope that answer. It will not 100% resolve the issues of integrity unless the technology is there to all the students. But we try to limit as much as possible so that the student tu dia tak ada masa nak discuss ke. If there is time for that, ni dia kena answer dan kita boleh tengok jawapan tu lah. Saya harap menjawab lah PM Mariam.
Okay, hopefully Dr. Zainuddin can get what Prof Zam is is elaborating. So this is a question from Dr. Rustam Rain. So he
Okay,
mentioned that
Moderator.
last semester, one of our lecturer asking his question to explain how to get the answer, even though the question are close-ended question. So I'm not sure what does it mean. So maybe if
Saya pun tak faham.
Dr. Rustam Rain, if Dr. Rustam Rain have mic, can you just ask the question directly? So half of the marks come from the explanation. So is it closed or open-ended question? So means that maybe the question is close-ended, but in the question is that
Okay, ada explanation ya.
ada need elaboration.
Okay.
So
Saya cuba jawab lah.
open-ended. Yeah.
Dr.
Okay.
Tamrin. Semua dekan-dekan tanya ni alamak, takut saya. Dia macam ni, soalan tu bagi pandangan saya lah. Again, saya cakap lah, there are a lot of other experts kat tuan-tuan perempuan, professor yang kalau kat among ourselves tu kan. From my point lah, my point of view, the question could be arranged close-ended. Okay, mungkin soalan A dia calculate ke solve for, bagi some data, some parameters ke apa, calculate. But again, masa tu kita boleh tambah soalan-soalan macam tadi lah, why ke, what if ke, kita tanya balik based on the numbers yang dia dapat tadi kan. Tu dia pergi pada higher level tu kan, mungkin level 6 dia evaluate. Itu bagi saya, pada pandangan saya, kita dah move sedikit daripada close-ended tadi, yang mula-mula mungkin part A tadi, ke part B. Part B tu baru kita nampak dekat situ how the student to understand about whatever dia yang dia jawab tu lah. Dia macam kita guna software lah, selalunya researcher ni dia guna software, dia masuk data, software tu bagi jawapan. Kadang-kadang kita tak tahu pun jawapan tu apa makna kan, jadi kita test balik. Itu bagi pandangan saya, when we add additional part tu, question to that close-ended tu, dia akan become open-ended to that particular question aja lah. Bukannya A tadi tu, A tu masih lagi close-ended.
Okay, right. So
Harap
okay.
jawab lah. Dr. Tamrin.
Thank you. I think it's can be I think it's answering the question. Okay, this is another question from Mariam. So how different is question for final exam, which means that for online final exam compared to the final assessment? So it means that for some faculty they are doing the final assessment. So how different is it, or how similar is it?
Okay, this is I think for banyaknya PFTMK, PTT, FTK, MP, FTKE dia akan tukar kan, dia akan buat final exam this time around tu, dia berubah lah. Jadi ada PTT dengan FTMK lah, most likely akan tukar daripada final exam kepada final assessment. Okay, final assessment basically dia give time. Dia macam coursework lah kan, yang saya faham Mohon dekan-dekan PM Juoi ni ataupun Prof Rabiah correct me lah if I'm wrong. So dia akan bagi soalan mungkin dalam bentuk assignment, tugasan yang mana ada duration of time for the student to complete that particular assignment lah. Jadi dia punya itu pun sama, dia boleh dia of course akan jadi open ended. Kalau dia calculate je no point, dia akan jadi photo state lah sebab budak akan dapat soalan tu, dia akan photo state. Photo state tu lah jadi itu tak meet our requirement. So itulah bila kita design final assessment tu, kita kena make sure that student ni first dia takkan buat berkumpulan, dia kena buat sendiri, dan dia mesti dedicated to, meaning that dia open ended lah, maknanya kita takkan expect semua jawab benda yang sama. Itu yang tough tu yang saya punya slide sekarang ni, ada tentang challenges about how we have to construct open ended tu. Dia maknanya dia dah open, maknanya dia give student macam tadi, dia akan open book punya approach. Dia kena gather information, dia kena dapatkan maklumat sana sini, dia kena refer something, maybe table ke, handbook ke, anything, and then dia dapat come to some conclusion, dia kena elaborate on that conclusion. Something like that lah. Dia tak boleh soalan yang berbentuk straightforward, close-ended. Dia tak akan sama unless kita buat dalam kuliah, kita bagi some assessment dan masa tu juga dia jawab lah dan dia hantar. Mana kita very sure that dia jawab pada masa tu. Itu pandangan saya lah PM Mariam.
Okay, means
Sebab
that
isu tentang pencapaian tu kita nampak ada beza last time antara minta maaf FTK punya fakulti dengan engineering. Masa tu FTK dia buat dia buat
assessment.
final assessment, dia tak ada final exam. Okay, jadi memang result dia lain sikit dengan engineering punya yang mana ada kita boleh buat comparison lah, tapi a lot of parameter kita kena tengok juga kan. Jadi nampak ada beza lah, jadi mungkin kita boleh scrutinize balik pada contoh-contoh final assessment yang dibuat di FTKE, FTKMP dengan soalan exam yang biasa lah. Jadi itu mungkin boleh buat paper sebenarnya kat situ tentang studies on that.
Yes. Okay, so it means that, as summarize, it means that for the final assessment, it should also be an open-ended question, similar to final exam. Okay.
Yes.
This last question before you continue
Okay.
your slide. Okay, this is from Dr. Sazalin Shah. So, what should the answer scheme or rubric be for the open-ended question? So how to construct it, or are you going to share it? But anyway, I just share first. Okay. For your information, actually, CAES, we are going to organize another webinar online, which is on vetters. How to vet for final exam question. So this will be next week. The tentative date will be next week on 19 November. So I think for those Dr. Zainuddin, I think you can join that webinar. So how to actually construct the rubric, or for the vetters, how to actually evaluate the final exam question. So if Prof Lam, do you want to answer this, or you can just
Maybe
move the question?
maybe later, but this is a very good question sebab setiap soalan akan ada berubah kan, jawapan akan will vary lah according to the student punya jawapan tadi kan, berbeza-beza. Memang kena ada rubric sebab sebab kita kena ada point that we need the student to answer lah, point-point yang tertentu tu kan. Jadi kena ada, that's a very good question lah, sebab when it come to marking, macam mana nak mark kan, sebab jawapan berbeza-beza. Itu it's a good question, but I think it's a different platform nantilah PM Mariam.
Yeah. This will, next week we will have that. So I think there are a few questions coming in, but I think I will give Prof Zam to finish up his slide. Okay, Prof Zam?
Okay. Thank you. Again, I'm trying. There are a lot of other information kat luar tu. What I'm trying to do this morning pun saya cuba dapatkan the gist from the literature review tu untuk saya share dan cuba explain lah. Jadi saya ucap terima kasih lah pada rakan-rakan yang mana boleh share juga maklumat yang lain tu. So challenges when we macam sekarang kan kita tengah start preparing our midterms, which we also do online, and for final exam is our understanding about open-ended question. That this is what we try to address today. And then satu lagi cabarannya mungkin when we look at the course learning outcome tu, kadang-kadang isu saya sendiri selalu bertanya, kadang-kadang we got trapped with our CLO tadi kan. Some CLO dah very very low level sesuai dengan tahun je lah. Contohnya describe, ini or explain kan. Jadi if we ask that particular question dalam final exam yang kita buat online, of course student akan ada opportunity just copy paste. Jadi that's why we have to turn it around kan, in such a way that dia tak ada boleh copy paste lah, dia kena bagi jawapan dalam dia punya dia punya language, own language. Itu yang kita punya constraint and limitation lah. But it can be done walau saya tak kata tak boleh. So greater effort, so pensyarah akan pening kepala sebab nak kena construct open-ended question. Whether it is truly open-ended, itu nanti masa proses vetting di peringkat fakulti, jabatan dan fakulti, vetters akan tengok lah. Jadi even masa yang baru ni memang banyak kita nampak soalan-soalan yang dibangunkan itu memang tak mencapai tahap open-ended. Tapi walau bagaimanapun, we are in the learning process. So hopefully session-session yang CAES lanjutkan ni akan dapat bantu. Marking juga ada concern sebab when we do it open-ended, banyak jawapan yang berbeza-beza dan kita kena go through satu. And hopefully saya harap kat sini kalau BPA dengar lah ada juga some leniency lah di pihak BPA untuk extend sikit marking. Okay, supaya marking period tu lengthier, dapatlah pensyarah ni membuat pemakan dengan lebih teliti dan lebih ni. Dan student limited understanding. Kadang-kadang student ni pun satu kita kena address. As I mentioned earlier, they might not understand really what is open-ended. Kalau kita state pun dalam soalan this is open-ended, we must somehow teach the students about what is expected of them. Okay, apa yang dia kena jawab. Dia kena maklum. So soalan tu kena maklumkan kepada pelajar, this is what expected lah, supaya dalam rubrik tadi kita dapat tahu, kita dapat tick, supaya dia faham apa yang kita nak. Itu yang dalam soalan tu must be in a particular way. So when the student read the question, they understand that what needs of them. Okay, ini dia punya challenge lah, kita kena tengok. Contoh kita I've done with all the theory part, so let's take a look quickly. Saya ada dalam 8 minit lagi ni. Very quickly kita tengok satu-satu contoh-contoh final exam yang saya dapatkan. Jadi harap pada siapa tuan-tuan perempuan yang mana ni soalan tuan-tuan perempuan, saya minta maaf, kita just nak share, so nothing tak ada apa-apa masuk tersirat. Jadi kita just tengok contoh pertama ini, saya cuba masukkan beberapa bidang lah kat sini. Kalau soalan A tu kan agak-agak tuan-tuan perempuan, ini open-ended ke close-ended. This is one question tapi ada pecahan AB. Contoh yang determine the optimum solutions. Salah satu daripada perkara yang kita boleh nampak kat sini, dia ada perkataan S ni. Kan? Jadi optimum, walaupun dia optimum kat sini patutnya satu, tapi mungkin ada banyak solution yang kita boleh dapatlah dengan cara ni. So this is open-ended sebab soalan ni part of the soalan ada lagi information yang lain. Kalau kita tengok soalan B pula, which is it looks like a very good question kan? It's a very good question. Design a simple test distribution system and dia bagi data. Okay, 13.8 volt PCC into, and then pada 480 volt, and then some other data macam TR2, current load and so forth, and then distortion berapa, and then they ask some questions kan. So question kat sini adalah question yang very specific. So even though this is like a design question kan, kalau design ni macam level 5 lah kan design question. So in terms of belum dia mungkin tinggi. Okay, but in terms of ni dia adalah close-ended. Maknanya dia spesifik. Dia ada satu jawapan aja. Dengan specification kita bagi ni, kita calculate, kita akan dapat satu jawapan. Walaupun dia belum yang tinggi, dia selesai design ataupun solving lah kat sini, macam solving juga kat sini. Walaupun belum yang tinggi, tapi dia jatuh kepada closed loop. Closed loop pula. Close-ended questions, okay? Ini contoh lah soalan-soalan yang kita dah bangunkan dalam exam yang lepas. Ni sesi yang lepas, online exam sesi yang lepas. Jadi tak apa, that's why we have this kind of session, kita belajar. Satu lagi, contoh ni control. Okay, we are given a figure kan, it's a rotational mechanical system. Katakanlah value damper dia berapa, T ni input dia ada unit step, it's a torque, and then calculate the value of J. Ada unknown kat sini. Sorry. And K, which is the stiffness and the inertia that will respond to 30% overshoot and settling time of 4 seconds. Okay, it's a level 3 solving calculation. So kita expect student will get one type of satu jawapan aja kan. Even though that maybe dia dekat level 3, but this is also close-ended. Dia tak sesuai dalam exam kita online sebab kenapa? Sebab student nanti itulah tadi dia ada plagiarism tu, ada tendency for student to share their answers lah. So meaning that if one student can get the answer, they can share, everybody will get the same answer because there is only one correct answer. So kalau kita nak ubah soalan ni, kita kena ubah dalam bentuk macam mana, mungkin kita bagi satu application. Okay, mungkin student tu yang kena pilih what is the value of J dengan K, akan maybe give some range ke, some other requirements yang mungkin from that requirement tadi dia boleh do another calculation dan dapat meet some requirement tadi. Contohlah I won't go into more detail lah. Jadi yang ini tak sesuai lah kalau ikutkan untuk kita punya final exam sebab dia close-ended. Okay, unless kita tambah lagi lepas tu soalan ni, mungkin ada smaller portion of sini, tak apalah just kita nak uji juga dia punya CLO tentang solving. Jadi kita tanya lebih sikit tentang kenapa can you comment on the initial value that you obtain, and what if the K value increase further, contoh by 10%, how would that change the percentage overshoot that we have designed earlier. Jadi itu dah pergi kepada open-ended. Jadi soalan yang sama ni kita boleh expandkan kepada open-ended dengan have that kind of question tadi lah. Mana pelajar tu kena fikir balik, kalau J ni half, kan, what will be the impact it will have on the person overshoot contoh. If the stiffness is double, how would that impact on the ni? So those are how we convert soalan ini kepada soalan yang open-ended. Contoh lagi satu, ini group material, mohon maaf, contoh saya just share. Material is needed for construction of robotic arm for industrial application. The material to be chosen is one that shows a small amount elastic. Dia bagi general overview. Okay, kita nak buat robot arm, kita nak pilih material. So suggest two mechanical property that must have for the chosen material. Maknanya student kan kena fikirlah what are the mechanical properties that would be reasonable and appropriate for this type of application. So they become markah ni kita avoid jangan tengok markah. Then they become a type of question which is open-ended. Okay, and they can justify your answers in one. Why are you saying that this mechanical properties is something that you have to address? Again, they can justify. So it becomes an open-ended. Jika tak, kalau kita straight dia tanya material apa ke, and then something like that, just list, and then dia macam kita bagi some parts, dia just list saja, then become close-ended. So this is example 3. I will try to go quickly and then add a few more. Bicycle can come in many forms, each aim at particular sector. Contohnya ada different type of bikes, sprint bikes, mountain bikes, or maybe children's bike. Identify two constraints that must be met by each. Maknanya pelajar tu dia kena tengok what are the requirement. Kalau sprint bike ni macam mana? What are the requirements that must be there in terms of the structure of the frame? Kalau children's bike ni macam mana? Jadi maknanya dia open-ended. So each student will have their own thought about what are the things that are required, okay, for this particular types of design. Contohlah justify. Okay, justify. Mana kita nak tengok dia punya thought kat sini, dia punya reasoning. Right. And suggest the primary objective. Contohnya ni nak bantulah suggest and justify also the answer. There should be a lot of question like this lah dalam open-ended supaya kita nampak the level of thinking pelajar tadi. Again, of course, dia takkan eliminate 100% plagiarism and things like that. But at least we make it tough for the student. They have to think and they have to put it on their own words. Alright, their answers tadi. Example 5. Ini tentang satu, kita bagi case studies. Okay, the world today is continuously striving toward carbon neutral clean energy technology and so forth, and company is planning to produce, mana ada part yang kena produce. The blade design should be between this range, 20 to 60 meter in length, ada minimum requirement and so forth, and lifetime of 20 years. So we give a scenario, and then we ask, propose the most suitable material. So dia bagi open-ended because but we guide, dia kena ada guidance lah. Show the material index performance. This is pergi kepada rubrik tadi. Kan, ni macam soalan doktor tadi, kan rubrik tadi. Sini kita guide, meaning that kita, we try to ensure that we have our rubric, we try to answer that the students know that those are the answers that we are looking at. Kan, kita dah bagi nota, kita bagi hint lah kat sini. Maknanya, tunjuklah material index ke, design requirement, what is your design requirement, list it out. Jadi dalam kita punya rubric tadi kita nampak, ada design requirement listed. Ada material index performance, maknanya ada tu meaning that dia akan justify lah. Okay, and then those kind of a thing, okay. Describe the construction, then pilih lah, choose the kind of construction which is suitable for this particular design. Sketch. So bila sketch kat sini, of course kalau kita tengok sketch tu exactly similar from student A to student B, kita boleh agak lah, then maybe there is ada copyright issue kat situ kan. Jadi this is something to me this is a very good example of open-ended question lah. But again, it is tough, okay, to duplicate this for all courses. Itu kita punya challenge lah. Okay, yang saya sebutkan tadi. This is another question. This is diploma sebenarnya. Tapi because of the online, kita cuba tengok diploma punya level punya thinking. Contoh dibagi satu existing scenario. Okay, this is just heating heating process. Ada inlet, ada hot stream coming in, ada valve and so forth. Kita tanya student, suggest improvement to the system. Okay, what improvement that you could do to the system? Convert the existing heating process ni kepada closed loop. This is sebenarnya object instrumentation and control. So ni kita convertkan sistem ni kepada closed loop control. Kan, maknanya student kena, okay, dia kena think, alright. Instead of us asking what is the criteria of closed loop control, dia kena ada ini, dia kena ada sensor, dia kena ada controller and so forth. Instead of asking it directly, kita bukakan dia, kita bagi satu contoh, then the student must come to us, okay, this is the scenario, this is my existing system, so I need to do this, add this and this and this, okay. I try to go faster dalam pukul 10 and discuss the functionality. Bila dia add the suggestion tadi, dia kena discuss what are the reasoning behind that. And this is also another thing. This soalan ni panjang. This is also from my course. Control dia panjang. Nampak macam very high level, design level, evaluation level. Kan, design, position controller and so forth. Tapi sebenarnya dia jatuh juga kepada close-ended. Okay, sebab basically student akan dapat dalam satu range of jawapan yang lebih kurang sama lah. So that's a trick, that's something yang kita kena tengok when we design our question. Sometimes the bloom level is high. But it still falls under close-ended juga. Okay, tuan-tuan puan boleh tengok nantilah. Ini soalan mathematics. Mathematics bit tough. Okay, because normally kita used to have a direct question kan. Given this, fine, calculate this, calculate something like this kan. Dia macam ni. Jadi kita kena tukar lah contohnya. Contoh macam ni kan yang kita boleh tukar. Katakan you are given contoh kalau matematik contoh compute area kan, that's very straightforward. Given the parameters kita compute, semua dapat satu jawapan. Mungkin apa yang kita boleh buat, kita katakan we need to design a part with an area of this much. Okay, propose suitable ni gunakan something double integration that show using double integration by having a particular parameters. Contoh kita akan dapat area macam ni. Contoh macam tu lah mungkin yang kita boleh tengok dan kita boleh convertkan lah ke dalam bentuk open-ended. Mana sudah kena fikir, instead dia bagi data, dia calculate, mungkin kita bagi macam jawapan dan kita nak area tu, dah dapat jawapan tu, macam mana pula dia nak come out dengan the kind of specification balik tadi. Okay, itu contoh mungkin tuan-tuan perempuan nanti boleh timbangkan lah. Ini just the last example from me this morning. Contoh, this is a scenario in industrial robotics. Kita minta student pick an application. So the meaning that of course each student will have a different application. A specific task, robotics, pick and place ke, polishing ke, welding and so forth. Select the best robot configuration. Mana dia open ended, dia besar. Mana jawapan pun banyak. Tapi kita bagi dia some guide lah. Some guide supaya dia tak go beyond. Dan sebab tu kita kena handle soalan ni supaya dia tally dengan kita punya rubric nanti. Select from literature. Literature sini kita kata bukan textbook, must be from journal ke, proceeding and so forth. And industrial apply robot manipulator contoh. Construct. Baru kita minta ada construct. Selalunya kalau kita jadi open and close ended, kita dah bagi dah robotnya, kita dah bagi specificationnya, kita dah bagi the calculate je. Meaning the straight step from one to the end dia kira. Okay, last kali dapatkan contohnya transformation method itu. So ini is saya harapkanlah from the explanation that I have done so far, bagi membantulah tuan-tuan perempuan. Saya tahu banyak expert kat sana yang harapnya dapat juga membantu sama-sama supaya at the end of the day kita sama-sama di UTeM ni dapat meningkatkan kualiti final exam kita, not only final exam but final assessment lah for the faculties involved, such a way that we address the issue of accreditation. Sebenarnya main issue ni kat situ lah accreditation issue. When auditors came, kita boleh jawab, maknanya we are quite certain that students answering in the way that they should answer, of high level critical thinking. Kalau kita tengok dalam EAC pun selalunya, kalau tengok dalam PO punya statement, they are all involve complex engineering problems. Pakai UTeM pun macam tu, sesuai dengan level masing-masing lah. Jadi harapan saya, supaya sesi yang saya sharekan in this 1 hour benefit to all of you. Saya mohon maaf, saya bukanlah sebenar-benar pakar dalam bidang ni, but based dengan pengalaman sikit-sikit yang ada tu, saya harap ia membantu, dan a lot of other expert out there yang insyaAllah akan terus sama membantu kita sama-sama dalam memastikan the quality of exam question that we have at UTeM at all level, diploma, degree and masters meet at least some requirement lah, that we are comfortable when we deals with accreditation and so forth. Itu saja dari saya, PM Mariam. Terima kasih atas sesi ini. Mungkin saya akan tunggu nanti untuk Q&A session juga lah selepas PM Hidayat.
Okay, sekejap. Rasanya, I think problem, can you just we have few
Atau,
question maybe related to yours, so we
okay,
finish our
boleh.
question
Boleh,
first.
ya.
So this is question
Bagus
from
juga.
IR Dr. Zamani. So the question is that is
Okay.
objective question can be a part of open-ended question by using why, how, what verb. So could it be because you have listed in the beginning of the slide just now that she was
Yeah.
close-ended question. So
Yeah.
what is your
Okay. If you look at IR, kalau kita tengok dekat, it's a very good question. If you look at the criteria that they define open-ended dan close-ended, walaupun soalan tu mungkin tanya berbentuk macam tu, tapi kalau dia jadi multiple choice, if there is only one answer kat situ, dia become close-ended juga. Sebab kalau multiple choice kita dah bagi dia option. Kan? Jadi dia akan jatuh jadi, ini dah satu jawapan je lah. Unless soalan tu open kan, dia tak ada ABC lah, mana dia bukan multiple choice. Then dia kena elaborate. Itu that become, in my opinion, that become open-ended. So, kalau multiple choice tu dah memang ada satu jawapan. Kalau ada satu je jawapan tu close-ended. Itu maklum balas saya lah. PM Mariam. Saya harap menjawablah soalan.
This is another question based on the objective question, because objective question we can reshuffle it. Means that student then don't have any option to actually redo again the answer. So they select the answer and then submit for the next question. So maybe
Maknanya,
this is what
Okay. Dia, saya cuba fahamkan soalan. Maksudnya dia sama juga dengan kaedah yang mana kita tukar nombor. Saya salah Kalau soalan tu bukan multiple choice, tapi we are changing the numbers. Macam saya sebut tadi lah, x equal to, set yang lain kita x equal 5 contoh. But still, even though kita jagalkan dia punya jawapan tu, isunya kat situ mungkin kita tak nak pelajar tu tiru, mana dia akan tahu equation tu B. Okay, kawan, beritahu kat kawan dia kan, soalan nombor 2 B. Lepas tu kita jagalkan set tu. Tapi dia still bila budak sudah menjawab, dia still, at least dia tak ada higher level, dia still satu jawapan juga. Tapi cuma set A jawapan dia B, set 1 jawapannya B, set 2 jawapannya C. Jadi dia masih lagi close-ended. Itu dia masih lagi. Cuma kita make it a bit tough to the student to share their answers. Dia lah itu je. Jadi sebenarnya buat banyak-banyak set pun sebenarnya tak issue of integrity juga. Yeah.
pretty, yeah? Okay.
Right.
So this another question from Dr. Rustamri. Dr. Rustamri have many questions this morning. So the question is, how many percentage of the final exam questions should have an open-ended question? So is it one question ke ataupun all 4 questions must be open-ended?
Okay. Dr. Tamrin ni soalan tough lah. Okay. Dia macam ni lah saya punya pandangan lah I might not be right lah kan. Okay. Kita boleh discuss lah, kita boleh debate lah benda ni. Saya punya pandangan, when we switch to final exams, duration tu selalunya masih kekal kan 3 jam. Contohnya kalau 3 kredit kan, normally 2 jam setengah, 3 jam. Cuma my opinion selalunya dalam last event kat FKP sebelum ni saya akan kata reduce the number of questions tadi. Kalau selalunya kalau kita buat face to face 3 jam tu mungkin ada 5-6 soalan yang berbentuk perkiraan ke apa kan, level tinggi, level 4, level 5 tu. Tapi when we do open-ended ni, dia tak boleh banyak soalan macam tu, tak boleh 5-6. Kita akan reducekan dia mungkin 3 je soalan. Okay, sebab dia akan take longer time to answer lah. One question tu maybe 45 minutes sebab dia open-ended kan, dia kena dan termasuk juga open book kan, dia kena dapatkan maklumat dan sebagainya. Jadi in terms of number of percentage tu, I think it's open for discussion. Saya tak boleh nak kata kena 50%, kena 60% dan sebagainya, tapi I think must be comfortable enough for us to say that the student passed that exams from their own ability yang kita really sure that it come from him lah. Contoh, saya tak boleh nak sebut lah 50% ke 60%, tapi maybe good portion of the marks tu dia must be open-ended lah. Saya tak nak sebut lah, nanti jatuh macam hukum lah kan. But kita kena, bila kita vet tu kita kena nampak, okay, good. Dia ada soalan memang kena ada close-ended, takkan semuanya open-ended. Tapi mungkin macam A, 1, mungkin 2, 3 tu soalan yang berbentuk Make it 3/4 lah kalau saya nak to be safe. 3/4 of the exam question tu must be open-ended. Dia dah tak banyak. Jangan letak banyak soalan. Nanti student tak dapat jawab dalam masa yang kita dah tetapkan tadi lah. Itu pandangan saya lah, Dr. Tamrin harap. Itu ini kena it can be discussed further lah.
Okay. Right. I think the rest of the question, I think Prof Zam already answered it, a few questions here. So should be but if there is any question related to open book question, and I think it's relevant also to HOTS later on by PM Hidayat. So I will maybe Prof Zam can also answer for the next session slot. Okay. Prof Zam.
Saya stay online. Alright. Thank you. Thank you, PM Mariam. All to all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the question, for the session, for sharing with us the session. Alhamdulillah, a very informative session. And to sum up what we've learned about open exam question, first, we need to ensure that the question that we have designed, we take it for these three important main phase of it. Students need to first stop and then digesting the information, and then they need to think, and then they need to reflect before answering the question that we have designed. So whenever that is the first slide that Prof Zam sharing just now, meaning that when we are designing for an open book exam, we need to be able to ensure that we are assessing the knowledge of the student as well as to develop their critical thinking related to the course learning outcome. So when we are designing for the question, we need to make sure that after reading the question, before answering or giving the answers, the students needs to stop digesting the information, the information related data, and then think of it, analyze it, and then reflect, then only they can give the answer. So that is the essence of having an open-ended question. Another point that we can also take is that when we are using Bloom taxonomy, as Prof Zam said, maybe the words, the terms is according to the level of Bloom taxonomy, but the content is not reflecting the taxonomy that being used in that particular question. So we need to try to come up with much better design reflecting the Bloom that we are using, not just using the words. Okay, for that, I believe there's a more question, but we are having PM Dr. Hidayat who are waiting for his session. So we end up Prof Zam session here, but Prof Zam is also with us to take up the question and answer later, because the next session is also important for us to be able to support our online teaching and learning. So for this session, I invite Prof Mariam to moderate the session. Prof PM Mariam.
Thank you, PM Jariah. So PM Hidayat, are you in right now? PM Hidayat? PM Hidayat, can you test the mic first?
PM Dr. Mariam, I've received information from PM Hidayat to wait for 10 minutes. So because he requests us to with a question for Prof Zam, and then he will join later. Dia pergi ambil gula-gula kat kereta.
Alright. Okay, just let me just go through the chat for the question. Prof Zam, are you online?
Ada kena ulang balik. It's okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Saya nampak satu soalan daripada Dr. apa daripada Encik Akramin tu tentang
Okay,
lower level apa bloom tu kan. Kadang in some CLO kan kadang-kadang kita macam saya mention tadi, there is constraint in terms of macam mana ni kalau LO tu dia macam define ke kan ataupun describe. Yang itu for those CLOs it's better that kita convert that to quiz ke whatever lah Tapi if we don't have any option, my suggestion is to convert it to a different form. Maknanya in such a way that dia tak menjawab directly lah. Tapi nanti mungkin ada detail dekat sini. Ada yang beli nasi lemak ni.
Sorry,
Alright,
ada yang on mic kot. I'm not sure who. Okay, sorry Prof Zam.
Jadi lapar pula. Alright, point saya macam tu lah. Memang ada concern sebab dia kalau CLO-nya lower level, belumnya lower level, memang kita tough lah nak convert kepada open-ended. But there is a way, kita kena twist that the way that we question tu lah. Maknanya kita nak minta dia tulis advantage and disadvantage kan of some particular thing lah. Tapi kita kena twistkan in such a way that kita bagi macam segment ke apa ke ataupun figures ke whatever, dan dia secara tak langsung dia komen tu dia akan menjawab disadvantage dengan disadvantage of certain particular item yang kita nak lah. Itu contoh lah Jadi saya tak ada exact contoh tu kan bersama saya hari ni, tapi mungkin siapa-siapa yang nak tu kita boleh discuss lah nanti. Itu yang saya nampak main concern lah PM Mariam.
Okay, right. So this is question from PM.
Salam.
Hidayat ke?
Boleh
Okay.
saya tambah sikit lah Dr. Zamberi.
Oh, siapa tu? Okay.
Siapa ni?
soalan tadi
boleh.
Fahmi.
Oh, Fahmi.
Boleh.
Okay. Wah, ni pun expert ni.
So, saya cadangkan untuk yang lower level taxonomy untuk buat soalan objektif lah. Soalan lower level taxonomy ni lah yang sesuai soalan objektif. Jadi dia memang tak open ended lah. Dia just hafalan kan. Jadi just fakta saja.
Better buat dalam mood lain lah, mungkin dalam quiz ke apa kan, instead of exams lah kan. Itu mungkin sebab apa. Tapi itulah kalau memang itu je dia punya CLO dia. Itu je mood dia.
Tapi
mungkin
saya rasa tak ada masalah buat dalam bentuk exam sebab sebenarnya dah lama diamalkan dalam medical. Sebab medical kan banyak fact kan. So medical punya exam memang ada percentage untuk objektif dalam masa final dia.
Cuma dia bukan open-ended lah PM Itu je lah.
Memang bukan open-ended lah.
Itu sajalah. Itu je. Tapi boleh, tak ada masalah, memang betul. Saya agree.
Alright. So means that for lower level question, we can actually do it in multiple choice question lah, MCQ.
Macam Dr. Tamrin sebut tadi lah, ada portion mungkin kita kena tanya macam tu. And ada portion tu open-ended lah. Tadi ada portion tadi kan. Mungkin itu
Prof Zamberi.
Ya.
Zaid ni nak tanya.
Zaid.
Prof, apa ni, okey, kalau macam soalan kita soalan tu close ended tapi kita increase difficulty which is double difficulty compared to yang previous, and then so masa sama, so boleh tak kita consider macam tu?
Dia kalau tengoklah kalau difficulty tu in terms of kita require the high level thinking.
Yes.
Kan macam walaupun dia soalan tu memang dah dari segi belum dia mungkin dah cukup bagus kan. Susah kan, tapi susah tu kena define lah. Susah tu bukan maknanya it come to kalau open ended dia mesti dia kena ada option, maknanya bukan satu jawapan.
Betul.
Kalau soalan tu
Prof, saya faham. Kalau open ended kita kena ada jawapan yang varies lah.
Betul tak? Betul.
Sekarang ni saya nak cuba kita solve isu yang nak marking untuk syarah dia jadi leceh kalau jawapan banyak.
Ya, betul. Itulah tough tu.
Prof, saya lebih prefer hot question, maksud dia high order thinking tapi dia still close ended. Cuma difficulty dia which is higher lah sebab hot kan. Itu pandangan saya lah. Okey tak Prof kalau macam tu? Maksud dia saya itulah. Even nak create soalan macam tu payah sebenarnya.
Betul. memang semua memang apa ada challenge lah. Saya partly saya setuju jugalah sebab macam saya tunjukkan dalam contoh tadi tu ada satu soalan control tu. Dia high memang susah soalan tu. Tapi dia still bukan open ended lah, itu je lah. Dia akan menyebabkan student tu berfikir untuk solve that question. Tapi memang jawapan dia memang itu je satu. That could be blend lah, kita kena boleh blendkan juga supaya isunya sebenarnya dekat EAC tu kita nak make sure that the integrity of the students answering the question tu, itu one of the concern lah.
Betul.
Sebab tu
Itu yang
kita kena campur-campurkan juga supaya tak semuanya soalan macam tu lah lebih kurang.
agree.
Saya macam tu lah.
Saya macam kalau satu soalan ada A, B, C. So A and B tu hot, C tu yang boleh kepada yang macam kita justify. So dia jangan justify bagi soal jawapan yang A dengan B tu kan.
Lebih kurang macam tu lah.
Itu dah sufficient kan, Prof?
To me sufficient lah. To me sufficient.
Alright.
Tapi more on the open ended lah, jangan banyak sangat close ended, nanti susah kita nak ni juga kan. Tu yang saya kata tadi, tak ada real balance tu, kena tengok lah nanti. Fakulti kena tengok.
At least part of the question should be open lah.
Ya. Pandangan saya lah. Pandangan saya. Okay, sama.
This is
Assalamualaikum. Thank you Prof. Zam.
Okay, thank you.
I think kita cuba dapatkan PM Hidayat sekarang because dah 10:23 kan. InsyaAllah kita sambung lagi later. Banyak ni open ended, close ended semua. Alright. PM Mariam boleh start. Boleh check bila nak close pun tak tahu lagi. Okay. PM Mariam boleh try speaker mic.
Hidayat, boleh just on your mic, just testing mic. Kita make sure that it's clear. PM Hidayat. Okay, tak apalah. Saya introduce dulu. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, for the next session is that we have Associate Professor Dr. Hidayat Zainuddin. So, he is the director. Currently, he is the director of Center for Strategy, Quality and Risk Management, PPSKR, and he is his faculty is from Faculty of Electrical Engineering. So, the topic that he is going to share today is on strategies for open book exam question using higher order thinking skill HOTS. So, continuing from what Prof. Dr. Zamberi has shared to us on the open-ended question, so PM Hidayat will be sharing on how to actually develop the question of open book exam using HOTS. So without further ado, I won't take long in introduction, so because we don't have time. So without further ado, I'm going to invite PM Dr. Hidayat to share on HOTS for final exam question and final assessment. Okay, PM Hidayat. Hidayat.
He is trying again because I did contact him by phone. It's actually he's speaking when you are calling to him, but we are not able to listen. I think he got a problem regarding his mic. He's trying now. He's trying again. Okay.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum. Dengar ke?
Okay, waalaikumsalam. Salam.
Dengar. Okay. Alright.
Okay. So, Dr. Hidayat, can you we directly share the session because it's already 10:30. So,
okay.
Want to take long time for the introduction. Okay, so later on we will take the for the participant, if you have question on this, you can just type in the chat, and later on after Dr. Hidayat finish the session, we will go for Q&A. Okay.
Okay, boleh tengok slide, nampak?
Okay, boleh.
Alright, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Firstly, I would like to thank the CAES for the invitation as a speaker to give a talk on such interesting topic regarding the open book questions which is my title, is about the strategies for open book questions using higher order thinking skills, HOT. So, what has been given by Prof Zamberi, it was is such a good and interesting sharing session, which is Prof Zamberi has talked about the open book. On the open-ended question. So I will continue my talk on the higher order thinking skill for the strategies for open book questions. Sebenarnya saya pun seperti Prof Zamberi juga, sebenarnya saya rasa macam kita rasa humble lah. I feel humble because I believe out there are many lecturers, okay, ramai lagi yang mungkin kita rasa lebih boleh bercakap tentang about this topic, but I will try my best to share what I have done based on my experience, based on my knowledge, and then I also gather some examples of previous exam questions from some lecturers that who are willing to share their exam questions before and after we have done the vetting for the higher order thinking level question. Okay, pertamanya kita kena melihat, we need to see in terms of the accreditation body guidelines on the student assessment that have been given by the MQA. Okay, kita perlu ada high order thinking level question sebab yang pertamanya during the COVID, okay, sebabkan COVID-19, so we tak boleh dah, we cannot conduct it is a constraint for us to conduct the face-to-face examination. So then due to that, BEM, EAC and ETEC and also MQA has issued guidelines on the examination for the students. So one of the things that they have emphasized on the integrity. For example, if you can see here, this is from the guideline of the BEM, guiding principles on teaching and learning, assessment, implementation during pandemic. So the EAC and ETEC has emphasized that precautionary measures in handling integrity issues must be ensured. So ini memang it is satu benda yang perlu diambil perhatian oleh semua universiti, semua all the programs owner, because as far as I know from the EAC and ETEC, so they will look at this when they want during the next visit, they will be particular on how we conduct our examination, on how we conduct our assessment. And then the advisory note number 1 by the MQA, the MQA mentioned that based on the current situation, while ensuring validity, reliability and fairness during the implementation. So how we are going to make the fairness to the students, how we must make the examination is reliable and valid, okay, in order for us to measure the students' individual achievement. So more or less it is something that on also this is more or less something similar, but in other form of guidelines, but is actually it is we can say that this is also touch on the integrity as well. So di pihak PPSKR sebenarnya kita haraplah we are very keen to look for from the program owners, okay, to ensure that this is happen in your programs. Saya continue dengan what is open book examination, alright? I believe most of us has known sekarang ni sebab most of us, kebanyakan daripada kita has gone through, all of us have gone through. I think majority those who yang terlibat dalam since the first day of we experience the MCO on, I still remember it is on the 18 March. So start daripada tu kita dah bercakap tentang open book examination, the whole university. Kalau dulu mungkin kita bercakap mungkin dalam kita punya klik saja kan, mungkin kita bercakap dalam in our own examination, kita punya test, midterm test saja. Right, actually open book examination is an assessment method designed in a way that allows students to refer to their class notes. This is the basic definition of the open book exam, textbooks or other approved materials while answering the questions. Then open book exams test students' ability to find information for problem solving and to deliver well-structured and well-presented arguments and solutions. And it can be conducted in different ways. It can be conducted traditionally, which is sit down, which is face-to-face and limited time exams. Okay, now it can be conducted in a new way, which is online exam, right? Students are provided with the exam questions prior. Also, it can be also conducted by providing students prior to sitting the formal exam. So basically, this is some of us might say this is not open book examination, but it is perhaps just open book assessment. And then take home exams are written within a specified period of time. So this is, but this is just a definition. So it depends on, it's open for opinions by others, but still generally by principle, open book examination is actually, we allow students to refer to their class notes, to refer to the textbooks and also other materials that we that can be what for them to answer the questions. Okay, why do we need open books? Saya belum masuk tentang hot sebab I was told that some of the audience today, actually some of them come from those who just came back from the PhD. So this is just an introduction for open book exam. Ideal for courses, okay, open book is ideal for courses or programs that especially aims at developing the skill of critical and creative thinking. It is also to test students' ability to quickly find relevant information and then to understand, to analyze, to apply knowledge and think critically. Okay, so and then the third one is there is a difference between testing rote learning and testing thinking skill. So rote learning is actually to evaluate how much the students have memorized from the repetition. And then another testing skill is the testing the students' skill of thinking, which is we can focus on the higher order thinking, which is hot. And this can cover, as you may know, there are 6 levels of Bloom taxonomy, and then we have C1 as knowledge or remembering. Level 2 is the comprehension. Level 3 is apply, and the hot or higher order thinking skill, it covers from the level 3 apply up to the synthesis. So students should be able to analyze, evaluate, and the highest one is synthesis. And then if we are not interested in testing the students, so why do actually we need closed book examination? Okay, this is one of the Sophie lah, okay, the opinions of us that kenapa kita perlukan close book kalau kita tak, okay, kenapa kita perlu close book kalau bukan nak uji memori pelajar lah kan. Jadi pelajar in reality kalau kita pelajar keluar, kalau sebagai engineer pun dia tak adalah sampai dia tak boleh buka buku untuk dia solve the problems. Okay, and then it reflects real life more accurately than closed book exams to prevent students from cramming. Ya, kadang-kadang student they can cram sebab banyak sangat nak diingat. Okay, student engineering ni as far as I know also based on my own experience so sebenarnya saya pun tak minat soalan yang berunsur hafalan. Kita rasa macam terbeban untuk menghafal. Jadi dia boleh, sometimes students can got cramp, sebab tu kadang-kadang students suka tanya. Students like to ask, sir ada apa? Ada bagi ni ke? Apa nama? Equation ke? So dia suka tanya. Dia tak minat nak menghafal equation. Okay. Okay. And then last kali sekarang the current situation is COVID-19. Kita perlu kau book sebab COVID-19. So actually COVID-19 has opened us to receive the environment of open book exam at the university. Some university maybe mungkin dulu mungkin kita tak ada, yang kita masih dalam argument tak boleh open book dan sebagainya. Mungkin sekarang ni mungkin kita dah kepada, kita dah open minded. Right, types of materials can be used in open book exams. Okay, there are two types. Ada dua jenis materials. We can call it as restricted type, and the second one is unrestricted type. So what is the restricted type? Okay, restricted type ni sebenarnya adalah bahan-bahan, those materials that are allowed. Okay, students that we permit student to bring these materials to the exam hall. Okay, sebagai contoh, dia hanya boleh bawa formula sehelai atau dua helai sahaja. Okay, dia boleh bawa table sahaja. Dia boleh bawa nota dia sahaja. Buku-buku lain tak boleh. Textbook tak boleh. Tapi nota boleh. Ataupun textbook je, nota tak boleh. So ini rules ni is set by the instructor. I myself, I experience open book exam masa saya undergraduate dulu. My lecturer only allowed the students to bring A4 paper. Setengah A4 je. Okay, separuh A4 saja dia bagi. Dia tak bagi bawa lebih daripada tu. Dan saya mesti ingat masa tu kawan saya, my friend, dia sanggup beli pensel yang halus tu, pen mechanical pencil yang halus tu, untuk dia tulis semua equation kat dalam tu. Kita bawa yang equation betul-betul, dia boleh bawa sampai half A4 tu, dia boleh tulis, he can write all the contents from the notes. Sampai macam tu sekali. However, still dia tak boleh jawab soalan. Okay, so open book doesn't mean it is easy. Sebenarnya supposedly when student hear it is an open book exam, so dia sebenarnya dia is a nightmare lah actually. Right, it's a nightmare. Sebab soalan mungkin open ended seperti yang Prof Zamberi highlight tadi, ataupun dia sangat susah seperti yang soalan yang ditanya oleh Dr. Zaid tadi. Right? Sangat susah. And then the second one is unrestricted type. Students are free to bring whatever they like. Apa nak bawa satu troli, bawa. Okay? Nak bawa satu troli, silakan. But again, open book, bila you bawa semua, you bukan ada masa pun nak apa? Students tak ada masa pun. The students don't have enough time to look after all the answers from the textbook. So actually, they need to study. Alright. And then academic misconduct issues. Okay. So basically, open book is really adopt a new outlook, not like conventional exams. Okay. And then it actually develop an atmosphere of trust and honesty. Kita kena at some point we must give our students trust. Okay, dan kita kena percaya, kita kena bagi peluang kepada our students for them to honest. There are students who honest. Memang ada student yang sangat honest. Okay, based on the previous semester, okay, I can see some student walaupun dia tak boleh jawab soalan, dia tak meniru pun. Kita tahu memang ada student yang meniru. Tapi how we see how bagaimana seorang pelajar dia how do I say, dia sahut kepercayaan yang kita berikan kepada dia. Right, that's why university has set a rule that student kena declare some sort like declaration dia akan to be honest dan so on kan. Alright, that is a procedure, but sebenarnya masa ni lah kita nak bagi kepercayaan kepada pelajar. In fact, there is no type of exam is completely misconduct proof. Dalam exam pun ada student tiru. Kalau takkan tiap-tiap semester pun kita masih, semasa saya TDPP tu setiap semester ada je case. Saya rasa ada satu semester je kot. Ada satu sem sekali tu je. Right? Tak exam yang completely misconduct proof. There must be ways. Mesti ada cara, there must be ways for students untuk copying. Okay. Kalau dia tak copying each other, dia akan pergi mana-mana lah dia letak. Kan? Kadang-kadang kita bila kita tengok video-video dekat YouTube tu pun, sometimes video dekat YouTube tu ada orang tunjuk short movie, dia tunjuk yang macam mana student meniru kan. So it's interesting, but it happens, right? And then no single standard set of rules for open book exams. So actually untuk open book ni dia tak ada single standard rules. Of course university have their own rules, tapi the lecturer himself, this actually reflects to the restricted. So you actually define and the rules. Okay, you boleh cakap dekat student, you bawa apa, what type of materials the students are allowed, what are the materials that are not allowed. Okay. Kemudian kalau macam online ni, macam tak ada rules lah. Right? Dia tak ada rules yang dari segi yang saya cakap, yang I did mention just now about the unrestricted and restricted. There are no rules for that one. Okay, for that one actually. Because student boleh refer pun untuk buka je mana-mana dekat internet, mana dia nak buka terpulang dia boleh buka. Right? And then somehow they can also discuss amongst the other people. Okay, dia boleh discuss pun. Boleh sendiri-sendiri dia duduk satu rumah dia boleh discuss. But that doesn't mean they have we can accept same answers. Kadang-kadang kita tak boleh terima lah bila jawapan tu, kalau if 2 plus 2 should be 4, but some students might answer 2 plus 2 equals to 5, then sometimes ada 3-4 orang yang jawapan yang sama. Yang itu kita tak boleh terima lah kan. Right? So some ways to offer integrity in open book exams. Ada banyak kaedah. Alright. It does not limited to this one, but there are many ways. So we can provide restricted and unrestricted materials, and then we can give students different sets of questions. Okay, we shuffle and random the questions. This is normally done for MCQ exam test, and then plagiarism check for essay. This is normally for take-home exams, and realistic examination period and reflects the difficulty levels of the question. This include the open book question as well, right? Dia sebenarnya reflect sebab bila open book, open-ended. Okay, open-ended. So bila open-ended, there will be different answers from the students. We expect different answers. Okay. Kalau dia boleh jawab jawapan yang sama, something fishy is going on. Right? Okay, I enter to the Bloom's taxonomy. Kita dah masuk kat sini. So before we go to the hot higher order thinking questions. So originally on the left side is the original Bloom's taxonomy level. Okay, basically antara difference one of the differences that we can see here, kalau yang original tu dia pakai, kalau the English wise, kalau saya cakap the English wise, term yang digunakan tu nouns. Kalau but on the revised version, so dia gunakan verb lah kat situ, right? And then the second one is there is a change of position from the synthesis and evaluation. So the synthesis or design has been gone up from C5 to C6, and evaluation dia letak kat bawah C5. And then for the level C3, okay, there is actually a grey area in the C3 level whereby normally lower level cognitive thinking begins to transition to higher level cognitive thinking. So dekat sini berlaku transition. Later we will see some examples. Alhamdulillah saya dapatlah beberapa example yang mungkin kita rasa kita sebab because this bila kita buat higher order thinking question ni, sebenarnya dia macam orang yang orang pakar, seorang yang pakar, we must refer to the subject matter expert. Itu yang paling penting sekali lah. The subject matter expert, kalau katakan kita rasa soalan dia tak, kan, for example kita rasa dia tak meet the level, we need to ask them sebenarnya, okay, macam mana sebenarnya, what actually do you want to ask, apa yang you nak tanya sebenarnya ni, okay, kita discuss sikit, okay, dekat situ baru kita nampak, okay, sebenarnya your question ni sebenarnya apply level yang dekat bawah ataupun apply level yang dekat atas ke, ataupun sebenarnya kadang-kadang benda ni level remember ke. Sometimes question yang kita kata V equals to IR, and then we give students if R is a certain value and I is a value, so student kena cari what is the value of V. Okay, sebenarnya itu sebenarnya dia lebih kepada level C1, remember, sebab dia bukan apply, okay, for is not an apply because dia tak, the question is rather straightforward, okay, but this still depends on the students. Kalau student university, okay, kalau student dekat sekolah rendah ke sekolah menengah ke, so kita kena tengok dia punya level, the depth, okay, dia punya depth of the content they learn in the class, right? Okay, open-ended and close-ended. Alright, normally we refer open-ended to a higher level question, but interestingly, when I look for the differences between open-ended and close-ended, I found a few references, tapi dekat sini nanti saya letak satu je. Okay, a few references that actually open-ended question can also categorize for a lower level, right? So kita tengok dulu we look at the definition. A closed-ended question is one for which there are limited number of acceptable answers, most of which will usually be anticipated by the instructor. Okay, so this is closed-ended. Jawapan macam yang tadi the definition has been given by Prof Zamberi, dia sebenarnya dia benda yang kita dah tahu dah, jawapan dia memang itu je jawapan dia, alright, dia ada satu jawapan je ataupun very limited answers, dia tak ada macam jawapan dia dalam certain range saja, right? But an open ended question is one for which there are many acceptable answers, most of which will not be anticipated by instructor. Okay, kita sebagai lecturer kadang-kadang kita tak terfikir pun jawapan dia macam tu. ataupun dia ada a bunch, banyak sangat jawapan yang kita boleh tahu memang inilah jawapan dia, tapi the students also boleh jawab mana-mana daripada situ. Tapi somehow kadang-kadang mungkin dia luar daripada yang kita fikirlah. Okay, so in principle, based on this definition, in principle, open or close-ended can be both. Okay, dia boleh jatuh kepada dua-dua kategori, lots or HOTS questions. Okay, tapi saya hanya fokus kepada higher level lah. Alright, my thought today will be focusing on the higher level only. So sebab lower level macam ni daripada reference lah yang saya jumpa. Okay, kalau close-ended, dia tanya what is the definition of an adjective. But for the open-ended, dia tanya give me an example of an adjective. So kalau dalam kelas, okay, ni kalau spontaneous punya question, kalau kita tanya dalam kelas lah. Kalau dalam exam tu, mungkin kita boleh discuss lagi lah sama ada dia boleh jadi dalam open-ended ataupun close-ended. Alright. Tapi kalau dalam kelas, kita cakap kat student, okay, hari ni today we learn about adjective, words, right? And then each student must give me, okay, kita minta student bagi satu adjective word. Satu adjective yang dia tahu. Dan it cannot be repeated. Dia tak boleh repeat. So, student kena fikir. Oh, apa lagi adjectives? Yang ini orang dah cakap beautiful ke apa kan, benda-benda yang nak melambangkan suatu yang sifat adjektif, tapi yang ni dah jawab, yang lain semua dah macam yang belum jawab lagi, duk terfikir-fikir lah apa lagi. So sebenarnya dia is open-ended, okay, but it is a lower level. But for a higher level, perhaps kita bagi senario ke dan sebagainya. For example, kalau kat sini based on the given data, okay, discuss the findings. Kita suruh student discuss finding ni. So the findings will only focus on the data given. Dia tak fokus pun kepada benda-benda lain. Alright. And for open-ended, kalau kita bagi satu data, we give students a data, set of data, for example, and then we ask students to propose some ways, okay, that might be useful to improve the trend. So from that, dia boleh jadi open-ended question. Tapi ini untuk higher level lah. So today kita akan fokus yang inilah higher level ni. Right? Kita tak fokus kepada yang lower level lah. Right? So the focus will cover the close-ended and open-ended. Mungkin, but it's just a general guideline. Okay? Right. So consideration when designing open book exam questions. The first one is we must look at our LO. Itu perkara pertama yang that must be taken into account. Ini benda pertama. If the learning outcomes dia tak boleh reflect kepada open book exams, okay. For example macam yang last time lah, dan sekarang ni for this semester and previous semester, bila datangnya COVID, kita pun terpaksa lah tengok balik. So dekat situ, that point we need to revisit our learning outcome. I believe this has been touched by Dr. Hairil pada talk yang lepas. Okay, Dr. Hairil cakap tentang open book exam, and masa tu dia bagi guideline tentang ni, dan consideration first kita kena revisit kita punya learning outcome bila kita menghadapi pandemik macam ni nak open book. So tapi selepas kita bila kita dah tengok learning outcome kita tu, kalau kita rasa kita perlu revisit, we need to revisit. Kita kena tengok balik. Right, kita tak boleh, sebab kalau tak nanti kita tak boleh nak bagi higher order thinking dan dia tak boleh meet pun. Alright, I understand that some subjects, okay, some courses dia punya the LO tak meet pun sampai level C4, C5, C6, but perhaps it can meet up to level C3. Okay, especially for courses for first year, in second year ataupun diploma students, right? And then design your questions that reflects the higher order thinking level C3 and C6. Okay, how? Macam mana? So ini just a guidelines. Okay, questions that require students to apply and make use of the information from their textbooks or notes rather than simply requiring them to locate or rewrite this information. So kita tak nak student dia tengok je. We do not want students bila when we give them questions, they can simply buka je nota ni page mana dia terus jawab. That is not higher order thinking. Itu bukan. Alright. Okay. And then questions to assess the interpretation and application of knowledge, comprehension skills and critical thinking skills rather than only knowledge recall. Sama. Ini dia tak boleh macam nak recall je, dia boleh terus. Itu tak sesuai untuk open book exam. Right? Is not suitable for open book exam. Dia kena menilai dulu soalan tu ataupun dia kena nilai dulu knowledge yang dia tahu, okay, and interpret and apply the knowledge, okay, hand with the question and then fikir secara kritikal, kemudian baru dia boleh jawab soalan. That is higher order thinking. And then questions that require students to apply critical reasoning skills in response to the given problem or scenario. So dia boleh bagilah reason. Okay. Kenapa macam tu? Why? Right? Why the result is like that? Why? Dia sebenarnya jawab soalan why lah kebanyakannya. Or the student need to justify and so on. And then questions around case-based problems or scenario, or make use of relevant qualitative or quantitative data that require students to apply the hot skills. So case-based scenario, case-based problems or scenario, dia bukan scenario ni, dia bukan, saya pernah jugalah soalan, ada setengah tu dia buat scenario, you are an electrical engineer, bla 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 bla, sekian macam tu kan. Tapi kemudian senario dia tu dia buat ayat macam tu je, tapi lepas tu nanti soalan tu straightforward, dia tak jadi macam tu. Okay, dia bukan macam tu lah. Untuk kita buat problem ni memang the scenario tu adalah the data yang kita bagi, yang dia reflects the problem. Kita bagi problem based on tu. Dia bukan kita bagi senario seorang engineer sedang buat kerja sekian, kemudian dia dapat bacaan voltage sama dengan ni, current sama macam ni. So macam tu tak nampak dia punya the problem tu, tak nampak. Senario tu hanya dia punya narrative je. So benda tu it doesn't work that way. So kita kena senario tu adalah the problem that we give, bukan the senario cerita-cerita introduction, bukan. Right? And then okay, saya dah cover yang tu. Okay, design question that are suitable for the allocated time, realistic and manageable. When we design our question, kita kena empathy kan dengan student. Okay, we must empathy the student. Kita tak boleh expect student ni cara dia jawab macam kita. Right? Kalau if we want to create question, kita jawab pun ambil masa 1 jam, then we cannot expect student to answer the question within 1 hour as well. Tak boleh. Dia tak boleh macam tu. Alright? Mungkin dalam, kalau kita jawab setengah jam, mungkin student jawab 1 jam. Alright? So dia mesti, dia tak ada, there is no set rules, tapi ini macam kaedah ni lah. Sebab tu empathy to the students is very important, so that we can make the time allocated is realistic and manageable. Right? Okay, dekat sini baru kita masuk lah. Kita masuk on the some of the guidelines always of developing hot question. First of all, saya nak buat sedikit disclaimer lah. Okay, ini adalah berdasarkan experience sajalah. Okay, the one that I give today based on the guidelines ni adalah based on my experience. that I have teach 4th year students since daripada saya masuk UTeM lah, memang saya ajar subjek tahun 4. Saya pernah ajar subjek tahun 2 kali kot. Lepas tu memang throughout sampai sekarang memang saya I teach 4th year subject. So memang setiap tahun saya akan cuba create new question as a bank question lah, sebagai bank. Okay, tapi bila contoh-contoh yang saya bagi ni saya tak sempat lah nak tengok semua sekali sebab slide ni pun kita prepare dalam ni. Sebab cuma satu lagi bila kita nak I want to give some comparison. So saya kadang-kadang saya tak ada benda saya nak compare. Cuma alhamdulillah adalah pensyarah yang sudi membantu untuk bagi. Right, so these are based on my own experience. Dan somehow some of the guidelines is also available from other references on that we can get from websites. Okay, memang ada kadang-kadang ada orang memanglah macam especially macam nombor 3 tu kan, scenario based questions. Okay, alright. First, yang pertama sekali unguided questions. Okay, how do I define? I define unguided question ni sebagai one, students must solve the question, can solve the question using any methods available. Kita tak guide student pun pakai method apa. Right, kita jangan bagi student pakai method apa. For example, in our lecture, in our contents of the subject, we have 2 or 3 methods to solve the questions, and then we give the questions to the student, and the student can answer the question by using any methods convenient, at their convenience. Okay, so mana-mana lah yang rasa selesa. Okay, yang ini adalah we increase nanti kita akan tengok kita increase the level of the question from, for example, if the question is C3 lower level, kita increase C3 tapi dia higher level lah. Alright, kita tak bagi tahu method. Yang kedua, the second is instead of asking several questions in steps. Okay, kadang-kadang kita suka tanya, kita bagi soalan, okay, kita bagi questions, kita buat satu problem, kemudian kita tanya A, B, C, D, E, kita tanya step by step. Which is this step by step is actually guiding the students to answer the question. Okay, after they answer A, they answer B based on A. Lepas tu dia answer C based on B. Lepas tu dia answer C based on D and so on kan. But instead of doing that, kita tanya just 1 or 2 questions that need to be solved using those steps. Kita terus jump ke D. Okay, so by doing that, we actually increase the level of the difficulty of the questions. Okay, I believe some lecturers also are doing this. Okay, saya percaya. Okay, sebab this is also based on sharing among the faculty members at FKE. Some of lecturers also doing this kind of thing. Okay, saya percaya fakulti lain pun sama. Alright, and then the second one is making connections. Kita making connection. How? We provide several information that require the student to digest this information. Dia tak boleh macam kita bagi 2-3 yang simple-simple lah. Maknanya kita bagi student untuk relatekan dengan standard ni, lepas tu relate dengan requirement B, kemudian apa-apalah. Right? Dia sama dengan yang bawah tu, provide criteria requirement to be considered. So they need to consider all these things, kemudian they digest the connection between this. Lepas tu barulah dia boleh solve the question. Kalau tak, kalau dia boleh tengok soalan straightforward je boleh jawab soalan tu, itu kalau kita tengok je, kita baca je soalan tu, oh macam ni terus jawapan dia, itu dengan mudah lah kita boleh kata okay, soalan ni memang bukan hot question lah, right? So macam mana this is actually increased another way to increase the difficulty of the questions. Okay, and then the third one is scenario based questions. We problem-based scenarios or real-world cases. Sometimes saya pernah ajar subjek power system protection. And then saya kadang-kadang kita tanya-tanya lah, rajin-rajin lah kita tanya kawan-kawan kita di industri. Right? Kadang-kadang saya suka tanya kepada kawan di industri. So saya tanya kalau if I ask this question, is it reflect to the real world? Okay. Kemudian dia kata nanti kita dapatkan feedback dia lah. Alright. Ataupun perhaps some of us are involved in consultation. Kita ada setengah daripada kita mungkin banyak involved dengan kerja-kerja consultation. So from the problem that we experience from the consultation work, kita boleh tanya juga. Alright. I still remember one of my lecturers dulu, dia baru je arwah Allahyarham Prof Hussein. He taught me high voltage engineering when I undergraduate. So dia pernah tanya soalan pada masa tu in UTeM in year 2002-2003. Masa tu there was a case when UTeM students died, mati tau masa tu, disebabkan lightning, main bola masa tengah hujan lebat. Right? And then masa tu lightning strike to the field, kemudian ada student yang meninggal lah. Kemudian dia dia yang kena study, he was supposed to study that. Kemudian dia keluarkan soalan tu. Tapi dia tukar. Instead of human, dia ganti dengan lembu. Macam mana lembu boleh mati? Okay. Kemudian and then provide relevant quantitative data. So kita bagi set of data lah, data banyak-banyak mungkin. Itu sebenarnya boleh juga berkait daripada kita punya experience lah. Right? Okay, next, Socrative type questions. This is just macam mana, how do we ask the question lah. Alright, is the clarification question, which is what does it mean by this, what does it mean by that. Bila kita dah bagi problem tu, lepas tu kita tanya student, what do you think about it, what do you think. And then reason and evidence question, kita tanya why, what is your justification for that. And then implication question, what is the probable effect, okay, what are the effects that can happen if we do that, if we do this. And then viewpoint questions, how would you solve the problem, what is an alternative. Okay, ini juga ini Socrative type question ni selalunya dia boleh reflect, bantu kita untuk kita open-ended, which is number 5. Okay, actually help us. Okay, dia bukan just by verb wording, but is nature of the question. Dia bukan just macam words saja. Alright, kita dengan simply je kita ni, tapi this nature of the question that the students need to be answered. So dia membantulah untuk kita create soalan nombor 5. Tapi kadang-kadang dia boleh juga, jawapan dia boleh juga open, close-ended. Right? The answer can also be close-ended sebab the justification can be just 1 or 2 justification. But somehow this type of question really helpful for you to ask question for the open-ended question. Right, number 5, open-ended questions. Okay, open-ended question can be asked at any level, level 4, 5, 6. Okay, but it is very useful. Okay, you will find it is useful to upgrade question daripada C3 lower level to C3 higher level. Okay, macam mana nanti kita itulah macam yang saya macam yang inilah, macam yang saya the one that I mentioned earlier, unguided tadi. Alright, instead of we ask the students instead of kita tanya student satu kaedah, tapi kita boleh tanya mereka. Jawapannya mungkin satu, tapi the way to answer can be many answers lah. Alright, can be many ways. Alright, universal questions. Ini pun kadang-kadang kita boleh buat juga. ask students reverse questions rather than normal questions taught in the class or typically available in the textbook. Okay, kalau selalu mungkin kita tanya kalau dalam nota ke dalam textbook ke, the direction of the question one flow macam tu kan, satu flow ke bawah. Kita sekarang ni kita tanya bawah backward. Okay, which is students tak biasa nampak soalan tu. Okay, dia tak biasa, dia benda yang bukan rutin dia lah. Okay, tapi kita kena bagi tahu dia lah. We must tell the students that benda ni mungkin keluar dalam ni. Okay. Right. These are examples. I give you some examples. Ini saya ambil daripada thanks to the lecturer who willingly to give me to share the questions. Okay, these are examples of the question. The slide shown the electric circuit BEKU 1223. Before the question level is C3 but is lower level, and then after that we increase the question level to a higher level. So it's just the owner of the subject, they remove the method to answer the question. Okay, kalau tengok kat sini dia mention using nodal analysis, tapi later dia remove. Okay, dia tak bagi tahu pakai nodal, jadi up to the students how they want to answer the question. Okay, in fact kita boleh okay, yang ini dia okay, in fact kadang-kadang kalau kita tengok soalan macam ni pun kadang-kadang kita boleh tukar juga soalan ni, macam mana kita nak jadikan higher, lagi higher lah kan. Okay, open-ended open-ended, kita voltage across, kita bagi range. For example, sinilah kalau kita bagi dekat, kita kata students must assume voltage between V2 and V3 ni, kita kata student kena assume the resistance in the range of berapa, daripada berapa ke berapa kan, 2 to 6 volt for example. So student kena assume dia dekat situ je dah boleh ada macam-macam soal, ada macam-macam jawapan lah. Alright, ini the simplest way lah, ini cara kaedah yang paling simple. Alright, paling simple, paling mudah untuk dilaksanakan kalau macam kita tak ada idea untuk kita upgrade the question from lower level to higher level. Right, ini memang level application, tapi dia bila student tengok je mungkin dia boleh dah, dia dah tahu dah nak buat macam mana. Right, next is the subject of distribution system design BKP 3683. Okay, at the first place mula-mula buat soalan, the subject owner, okay, the question was based on your understanding why we need protection in electrical system. And then they ask, explain 3 main criteria in power system protection. Okay, dia tanya kenapa kita perlu protection, dan dia minta explain 3 main criteria. However, for a higher level question, which is also can be regarded as C3, yang tadi tu dia just C2 comprehension, right? After they upgrade the question to the C3 and higher level, they provide, okay, the lecturers provide a diagram and they put fault. Okay, ada fault kat sini. And then the question asks, as an engineer, you are required to propose solutions that can avoid the situation, that can avoid the fault here kat sini. Apa? So dia kena apply benda-benda yang apa yang dia dah belajar dekat dalam subjek distribution system design tu. Macam mana dia nak avoid situation kalau ada kat sini. Right? Cable failure lah sebenarnya. Dia nak avoid cable failure. Dia bukan nak avoid fault. Fault tak boleh avoid. Kita tak boleh avoid fault. Tapi it may cause cable failure from the transformer to the main distribution board when there is a fault. So macam mana kita nak avoid the cable failure tu. Right? So dia kena bincang lah apa benda protection yang dia kena letak dan sebagainya. Right? Okay, so this is the level of application, applied level, but it's higher level, higher hot level lah kat sini. Kemudian power electronics. This is example from power electronics, BEKP 3543. Okay, the left hand side shows the question for before upgrade the question to hot level, which is level C3, but is level lower level. Okay, it's straightforward. Lower level C3, lower level ni sebenarnya dia agak straightforward. Alright, dia simply apply. A half wave rectifier as shown in figure Q1 has a 120 volt RMS. Power absorbed by the load is 50 watt. Determine the value of filter capacitor to keep the peak to peak ripple across to load less than 1.5. So bagi satu half wave rectifier. Kemudian what this lecturer did, she okay, and she and the team lah, okay, increase the level of the question to C6. Okay, macam mana bagi dua jenis rectifier, they provide the students two rectifiers and they give requirement dekat sini, and then the student must do some evaluation based on these two rectifiers and propose. Dia kena choose salah satu, mana satu yang sesuai. Alright. So the way guideline that I gave you just now, which is there are 6 guidelines, this is the one that I normally use. Sebenarnya dia bukan rigid to one approach pakai satu. Maknanya you can combine. Alright. Okay, next. Ini saya punya subjek sendiri lah, high voltage engineering. Masa mula-mula dulu kita tanya soalan lah with the aid of diagram. Bukanlah ni sebab kadang-kadang kita somehow bila kita buat soalan, kita tak boleh, we must think the students yang middle dengan yang scorer lah, right? Sebenarnya ini mungkin boleh saya bagi respon juga kepada soalan that has been asked to Prof Zamberi tadi tentang berapa banyak. Memang kita tak berapa banyak open-ended. Sebenarnya kita tak boleh bagi, we can give all of our questions open-ended. Nanti akan ada student yang memang mungkin akan fail dan sebagainya. So kita kena faham ada student yang mungkin level dia rendah. Lepas tu yang level dia tengah-tengah, pertengahan, dan student yang level memang scorer students. And then those who can answer the open-ended questions perhaps yang A students. Okay. So kita nak differentiate between A students and B students ke, kadang-kadang based on the open-ended lah. Okay. Jadi dia nak kata berapa banyak portion ni, itu untuk open-ended saya pun susah nak cakap. Tapi untuk hot, kalau subjek tahun 4 memang soalan saya memang selalunya daripada kalau ada 4 soalan tu, every level, every question tu memang dalam 50% lah, at least 50% soalan memang akan level hot. Okay. So macam yang ini mungkin yang earlier ni, before ni level C2. So ini sebenarnya kita nak cater lah untuk student tu dapat markah dan sebagainya kan. Okay, nak bagi student adalah dapat markah sikit-sikit, by collision, based on hafalan dia kan, apa yang dia hafal. But if we change this question to the higher level, kita boleh tukar dia seperti yang sebelah kanan ni. Okay. Sebenarnya macam soalan yang A ni, coronal discharge can occur at power transmission lines as a result of ionization of air molecules. Sebenarnya ionization ada dua-dua tu. In your opinion, how does the elevation of transmission lines from sea level may affect the coronal discharge? So, the student kena faham, they need to understand, kalau dekat sea level, yang dekat bawah dengan yang dekat atas bukit, macam mana this will change the coronal discharge? Dia kena, sebenarnya dia ada effect daripada pressure tu dia akan lead to the ionization of both the molecules and so on lah. Jadi dia kena discuss benda tu, your answer in terms of the mean free path of charged particles and ionization process by collision of particles. Actually, they need to relate them with the pressure. Okay, bila sea level, pressure lagi tinggi, dekat atas bukit, pressure rendah. Okay, so macam mana benda ni berlaku? Okay, so they need to justify. Kalau tengok yang B tu, the insulation of high voltage cable is contaminated by a tiny water droplet. Okay, a tiny water droplet during its manufacturing process. Discuss the appropriate mechanism that may lead to insulation breakdown in long term. This is actually sebenarnya equivalent dengan soalan yang nombor 3 ni. Solid dielectric breakdown by internal discharge mechanism. Dia lebih kurang yang ini. Sebab dia sebenarnya proses yang berlaku adalah proses yang daripada nombor 3 ni. Internal discharge, kemudian dia ada proses dia lah, trimming dan sebagainya. Right? So that is kita jadikan soalan tu from lower level comprehension and then kita naikkan dia higher, tapi yang ini lebih kepada apply lah, kita apply. Dia tak adalah tinggi manalah sangat. Cuma yang atas tu dia level evaluation. And then energy utilization and conservation. Ini pun subjek yang saya ajar juga bersama dengan beberapa pensyarah, antaranya Azri dan beberapa orang lagi lah. Okay, so subjek ni, this subject is actually a subject that recognized by ST. Subjek kita recognized by ST untuk sebagai kita sebenarnya UTeM ni ada satu route lah, selain daripada kita follow the normal route untuk dapatkan title Registered Electrical Energy Manager. Our students ada route lain yang dia boleh dapat kalau dia pass di subjek dan ada certain requirement. Alright, so masa sebelum PKP, soalan ni yang kita tanya yang belah kiri ni, before sebenarnya dia soalan level 1 dan level 2 je. Alright, kita tanya out 4 of the informations that need to be submitted to the Energy Commission bila dia ni apa soalan dia, saya minta tengok jap. Dia kata Regulation 5. So students kena buka Regulation 5. Kalau lepas tu dia kena listkan 4 apa benda lah yang dia kena submit berdasarkan Regulation 5 tu. And then itu hafal je. Alright. Kemudian kalau yang C tu, after the identification, kita minta student to draw the timeline. Yang ini dia kena faham, the students must understand the procedure in the regulation number 7. Kemudian dia kena buat timeline. Berapa bulan, 3 bulan, macam tu kan. Alright, so daripada situ, ini dia sebenarnya jatuh level comprehension lah. Right, tapi bila PKP, kita tukar soalan. Okay, we change the question. Kita bagi scenario 5-star, receive a written notice. Ada tarikh kita letak, dated 15 April 2019 from the EC. Sebenarnya tarikh tu kadang-kadang bukan saja je. Okay, tarikh tu kadang-kadang dia nak tengok, dia digunakan untuk sometimes bukanlah all the time. Sometimes kita nak gunakan untuk bila akta tu ditubuhkan, kita kan relatekan dengan bila regulation ni diwujudkan. Kemudian kita nak reflect to the timeline and so on. Alright. Kemudian dia kata whereby the hotel is no longer required to further submit information and report as specified in regulation 6. However, a few months later, the notice under sub-regulation 9. Nampak? Dekat sini je, dia kena combine beberapa information. Ada banyak information yang dia kena combine. Dia tak boleh baca regulation 6 saja. Dia kena baca regulation sub-regulation 9. Dia kena baca regulation number 6. Kemudian dia kena tengok a few months, dia kena tengok date dan sebagainya lah. Right? Kalau date ni relevant. Alright. Kemudian kita minta briefly discuss 2 possible reasons for the issuance of withdrawal notice by the EC. Support your answer with examples. Kenapa dia boleh terima notice ni? Maknanya dia mesti ada breach something. Sebenarnya apa yang dia breach? So dia bagi jawapan dan dia bagi example. Alright. So dia justify lah. Right. In order to avoid such withdrawal, suggest and elaborate the appropriate actions to be taken. Kemudian kita tanya macam mana kita nak. So jawapan ni, dia soalan ni dia boleh, dia punya jawapan dia tak banyak lah. Jawapan dia ada berapa je. Okay, jawapan dia tak banyak. So dia macam boleh jadi, dia sebenarnya about to close ended. Kalau open ended pun dia sikit-sikit je. Dia ada range of jawapan tu ada sikit-sikit je dalam, sebab jawapan dia dalam ada 2-3, dia tak banyak. Alright. And then dekat sini je kita actually we have increased the level of the questions. Okay. Instead of kita minta student describe, bincang tu, kita bagi senario dan kita relate. Alright. Okay. Ini subject control, instrumentation. Sebelum, okay, sebenarnya sebelum soalan ni, masa sebelum lagi, soalan ni dia dah high lah. It's actually a higher level. They're given a system as shown proof using the steady state error of the system can be improved by factor 2. Right? Kalau yang sepaham saya lah, kalau saya tengok tu macam subject matter expert, dia mungkin dia boleh kata ni mungkin level lower kan. Tapi bila, sebab saya pun tak berapa mahir sangat saja ni, jadi saya rasa macam soalan ni macam susah nak jawab kan. So saya letak higher. Right, never mind. Tapi apa yang nak ditunjukkan adalah macam how the lecturers they change the question daripada yang dia dah bagi dia tu, dia bagi figure, dia tukar. Dia kata the objective of designing lag compensator is to improve the steady state error, right? Without significantly affecting the transient response compared to the simple gain K controller. With your own example of any system, the statement. Okay. So dekat sini dia dah higher, lepas tu dia jadi open ended. Kenapa dia jadi open ended? Sebab dia kena provide, the students must provide own example of any system. Okay. Ini again soalan energi. Okay, saya bacalah. Alright, ini kita tak ada, memang soalan ini memang standard soalan kalau kita bagi PKP ke tak PKP ke, soalan sama je. Students are given the scenario, jawapan dia memang satu, tapi student kena faham benda ni. Sebab in reality memang inilah yang berlaku. Okay, in actual case inilah yang data-data yang student memang nampak banyak ni, ayat dia panjang, tapi kalau kita bagi dalam bentuk semua kita bagi dalam table, dia mungkin memudahkan pelajar. Jadi student kena extract lah some info. Bukan tujuan untuk kita confusekan. Okay, bila kita buat soalan hot ni, bukanlah kita main dengan ayat sampai kita confusekan pelajar dengan ayat kita. Bukan, dia bukan macam tu. Okay, it's not like that. Bukan macam kita tengok soalan ni nak faham pun susah. Susah tu bukan nak faham tu dari segi the difficulty of the question, tapi nak faham tu sebab ayat dia kita sengaja lenggok-lenggokkan ayat tu. Itu macam it's not a proper way to ask the question lah. Kita still bagi the fact and figures, but the student everything in line, semua ada info yang relevant to be considered. Right? Okay, ini soalan, ini saya terima kasihlah kepada lecturer mathematics yang sudi. Okay, this comes from the same question C, tapi dia ada pecahan 1 dan 2. Okay, kalau kita tengok kat sini, dia letak kalau soalan yang C1 tu, dia straightforward. Dia tanya a second order linear differential equation is given as this equation. Kemudian by using the method of undetermined coefficients, find the solutions for the problem above. So student dia memang kaedah, mungkin jawapan dia, soalan ni 10 markah. Okay, jadi jawapan mungkin panjang, tapi still C3 dan dia mungkin saya percayalah, okay, lebih kepada lower level. Okay, mungkin lecturer yang mengajar mungkin dia boleh kata dia bergantung kepada kesusahan nak menjawab soalan tu lah. Alright. Along the way mungkin tengok je dah tahu berjawab, tapi masa dia nak buat tu mungkin ada consideration lain ke, itu ni. Tapi but based on ini mungkin dia adalah lower. Alright, and then later C2, okay, the lecturer asks this question: a spring mass system is given by the following equation, and then the students were asked to explain why the method of undetermined equation is not suitable to solve this problem, and explain briefly the steps of one other method to solve the problem. So dia jadi C5. Dia kena explain. Okay. Ini subjek tahun 1. So kita tak boleh, memang it's not suitable lah kalau untuk kita tanya sebanyak-banyak soalan open-ended. Okay. Soalan ni macam ni? Soalan ni mungkin close-ended lah. Okay, dia boleh jawab lah kan. Ended, tapi mungkin untuk tahun 1 tak sesuai lah untuk kita tanya sampai level hot yang sebanyak-banyak sampai student ni. Tapi still kita kena maintain the integrity lah among the students. Then differential equations lagi. Ini from the same question, daripada soalan yang sama. A metal rod of length 2 pi cm has initial temperature function bla 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 semua kan. And then dia ada boundary condition dia, the heat equation and so on. Okay, kemudian I ask, masa saya tengok soalan ni mula-mula saya letak ni macam level C4 mula-mula. Right? And then I ask the lecturer whether the students were taught in the class on the heat equation. Kalau student tak pernah diajar heat equation, dia hanya diajar general equation lah tentang partial differential equation, general equation. So mungkin dia akan naik ke level atas lah, C4. Tapi bila dia tanya pensyarah, dia kata, okay, pelajar memang diajar heat equation. Okay, pelajar memang diajar. Dia kata inilah heat equation tu. Okay, so maknanya memang pelajar belajar lah tentang ni. Jadi saya turunkan. Itu pun lepas saya bincang dengan ada pensyarah lain juga. Alright. Ada sebahagian yang ni saya tak decide seorang lah. Bukan saya seorang yang decide, kita ada perbincangan. Alright. Kemudian kat situ kita letak dia sebagai T3 higher level. Okay, kenapa? Sebab yang atas tu dia bagi scenario, kemudian the difficulty of the question, sebab boundary condition, initial conditions, semua dia kena consider. Alright. And then, but next, untuk C, the heat equation above also be solved using finite difference numerical methods. Okay. Finite difference. Explain the mathematical steps together with suitable interval and sub-interval to evaluate the solution. Soalan ni memang dia pun tak faham kan. Okay. Tapi student yang belajar ni sepatutnya kalau dia well versed dengan benda ni, so dia boleh jawab dengan menggunakan knowledge yang dia ada lah to answer level C5. Okay. Sebab dia kena evaluate benda ni. Right. Okay, saya ambil dalam subjek saya buat quiz. Ada quiz lah. Right. So saya bagi contoh dekat sini, I give example lah untuk MCQ question. Nak MCQ question ni susah sebenarnya nak buat, tapi last semester saya kerah tenaga jugalah untuk create soalan yang saya sebab saya rasa macam kena ada juga example soalan MCQ yang pada saya higher level lah. Okay. Ini dua soalan, the same question, dua soalan yang dia benda yang sama. Okay. The first one is kita tahu yang level C1 ni, dia level knowledge. Which of the following are true to qualify a UTeM student to apply for registration as an electrical energy manager through UTeM ST Professional Certification Program? Student sebelum dia masa at the beginning of the class, memang kita bagi tahu dekat dia lah, okay, ini adalah benda-benda yang you kena achieve, you dapat untuk you apply for, untuk you dapat lah professional certification program ni, energy ni. So syarat-syarat dia sekian-sekian ni. So syarat kalau tengok kat sini sebenarnya jawapan dia nombor 1 dengan nombor 3 lah. Okay, student tu kena obtain 2.5, lepas tu dia kena dapat subjek tu B+. Okay, tapi soalan ni straightforward. Okay, macam mana kita nak, how are we going to change it to a higher level? Kita buat senario. Kita bagi senario, kita bagi Ali and Ahmad Malaysian citizens, umur 23 tahun. Kalau tengok 23 tahun, kita kena tengok dia meet ke tak requirement, dia kena tengoklah dulu meet tak requirement dalam apa nama, ST punya requirement in terms of age untuk regulation EMEA ni lah, right? Dan kemudian kita kata student ni receive degree in Bachelor of Electrical Engineering from UTeM, and then during their study they undertook the energy conservation course. Kemudian Ali ni dia CGPA dia 2.5. Ahmad CGPA dia pun 2.5. Ini soalan ni. Oh lain, sorry. Oh, Ali 2.5, lepas tu dia kata did not manage to submit. Yang seorang lagi dia manage to submit. Dia manage to submit assignment. Alright. Kemudian which of the following are true on the process for them to apply for registration? So dia kena baca. Dia kena baca sesuatu ni dan dia kena tengoklah mana yang bertepatan dengan requirement yang ditetapkan oleh ST. Okay. Dan dia kena buat apa proses dan apa. Kalau nombor 1, both of them are required to submit the endorsed 1 year experience report. Ini memang ada dalam EMEA 2008 dalam regulation. Kemudian nombor 2 ni dia kata Ali macam mana, Ahmad macam mana. Nombor 3 Ali macam mana, Ahmad how. Nombor 4 macam mana kan. So dia tak boleh simply jawab macam tu sebab they must really know the problems and they must really know the contents of the regulation. Okay, so kita increase the question to a higher level, right? So ini satu kaedah lah, right? So sebenarnya untuk example ini sampai sini je lah. Cuma ini adalah sharing yang yang kita kena bagi tahu students, right? Bila kita buat open book exams. Okay. Misconceptions that normally happen related to open book exams. Okay. The first one is students selalu fikir open book exams are a breeze. Macam simple lah. Okay. Dia ingat senang. Saya pernah buat, saya pernah buat open book exam untuk midterm. Okay, open book exam untuk midterm. Ini saya punya case study lah. This is based on my case study. First time saya buat, I mentioned to the students that midterm will be conducted in open book. Then student bila masuk tak boleh jawab soalan. Student masuk tak boleh jawab. Padahal bagi soalan yang sama je dengan soalan yang saya biasa bagi. Memang saya tahun 4 memang hot lah. Jadi soalan yang sama je. Tapi ni face to face normalnya kan. Ni bukan yang masa PKP lah. Ini yang masa sebelum ni saya pernah buat. Alright. And then untuk next test yang kedua, student tanya lagi, open book ke sir, open book? Saya kata, no, saya tak bagi jawapan. Till the night, one day before the exams, baru saya cakap, okay, the exam will be open book. Masa tu baru student boleh jawab soalan. Yang kali pertama tu, semua student terduduk, memang tak boleh jawab. Okay, semua student, memang majority student tak boleh jawab. Tapi for the second time, okay, that time barulah. Sebab masa kali pertama, dia tak baca. Dia expect open book tu senang. Oh, boleh buka tengok. Okay, so this is misconceptions about open book exam. Right, so actually open book exams are not an easy option. Okay, answering the questions requires more than just copying information from text. In open book exams, it is how you locate, apply and use the information that is important. Okay, for example, having access to a textbook can stop you from giving a wrong answer if you can't remember a fact or formula. But just getting that fact correct won't get you good marks. Maknanya kalau dalam open book, you boleh jawab je soalan tu, tapi you mungkin dapat B je lah. Kalau you just locate je macam tu. Locate and apply the answer, maybe you dapat C, C+, B-, student lah, okay. But bila dia jawab level yang lagi susah tu, barulah kita determine student ni okay, dia layak dapat B+, A-, A. Okay. And then open book exams are likely to give impression that one can find all the answers during the examination. The fact is exactly the opposite. Resources must be used rarely and only under emergency. So dia kena buat lah tagging sikit, topik apa, so dia boleh cari dengan cepat. You don't have to study. Probably the biggest misconception. You should study just as you would for any other exam. Having books and notes to refer to might mean you don't have to memorize as much information, but you still need to be able to apply it effectively. Yes. Okay. So memang satu kesalahan besar bila nak exam tak baca. Okay. Tak study lah sebenarnya. You must fully understand and be familiar with the content and materials of the course so you can find and use the appropriate information. Book exams will probably be timed, so you need to quickly find the relevant information in the resources you have. Okay. Misconceptions lagi, okay. You can just copy straight from the book. Okay, ini misconception lah. Okay, student ingat dia boleh copy je, tapi sebenarnya hakikatnya dia bukan macam tu. And then the more materials, the better. Only take what you need. Student akan ingat banyak reference tu lagi bagus. Satu troli bawa masuk lewat exam. No, dia tak ada masa pun nak jawab. Okay, tapi kadang-kadang ini daripada sharing session daripada rakan saya lah. Okay, yang dia pernah belajar dekat US. Student boleh bawa memang boleh bawa lah satu troli lah, tapi depends lah sebab soal exam tu macam satu hari punya exam. Student duduk satu hari, student boleh keluar, boleh break ke apa kan, take coffee ke apa. So dia boleh masuk balik dia ni. So itu terpulang lah. Alright. Okay. Only take what you need. Stacks of books won't necessarily guarantee your performance and you won't have time for extensive reading. Too many materials can end up distracting you and crowding up your workspace. Memang menyusahkan kita lah lagi nanti. Menyusahkan student lah. Carefully select your materials and organize them for quick reference. Ini saya ambil daripada ni lah, reference kat bawah tu. Yang lain-lain tu, sebahagian yang slide saya, sebahagian tu saya ambil daripada sini dan berdasarkan pengalaman lah. Right, these are the references. Okay, ada beberapa reference. Ada banyak yang saya tak bincang kat sini lah sebab macam MCQ ada lah. Kalau kita buka some of these references, kita boleh tengok contoh-contoh soalan macam mana. How do they give examples on the question that are hot question. Okay, and then open-ended, yang definition of open-ended tu saya ambil daripada tu. Kemudian bila saya refer yang lain-lain pun somehow open-ended tapi more on survey lah maknanya. Dia lebih kata more on survey. Alright. Tapi sebab we are focusing on open-ended at hot, so itu penting sebenarnya. Okay, sebab dia support untuk kita punya quality of academic quality sebab dia melibatkan accreditation nanti. Right. Akhir sekali saya mengucapkan terima kasih lah. This is my only kepada rakan-rakan yang telah sudi ini antara rakan-rakan yang saya refer dari segi bagi bantuan dari segi untuk saya dapatkan examples of questions. Okay, saya bincang dalam saya menghasilkan slide presentation ni lah. Okay, dalam saya hasilkan sharing session ni. Right, sharing slide for the sharing session. Right, for that saya thank you, itu saja.
kat sini.
Banyak
Tapi
soalan.
tapi mostly ada juga yang dah siap berjawab throughout the presentation tadi. Cuma mungkin kita boleh invitekan participant untuk unmute your mic and tanya soalan-soalan yang masih belum berjawab. Kalau ada soalan yang masih belum berjawab throughout di chat section tu, boleh?
Assalamualaikum, PM Hidayat. Saya
Hello.
nak bertanyakan berkenaan soalan MCQ tadi tu. Okey, bila kita dah buat soalan MCQ yang C3 level higher tu kan, berapa masa yang kita peruntukkan untuk student tu jawab soalan tersebut? Sebab kalau final exam kita dah letak C3, jadi satu soalan tadi yang macam PM dah bagi contoh tu 1 minit ke, 1 minit setengah ke untuk dijawab dalam final exam. Terima kasih.
Okay, sama. Alright. Hari tu saya tak ingat lah saya bagi apa. Saya sebenarnya itu soalan kuis sebenarnya saya buat. Saya buat ada soalan saya rasanya dalam berapa soalan Saya ingat dalam 5 soalan ke apa. Satu soalan saya tak bagi, saya bagi sebab first time saya bagi, itu masa first time bagilah. Jadi saya test. Saya bagi student dalam 2 minit kot masa tu. Saya tak ingat. Dalam 2 minit untuk student. But this is the first time saya bagi soalan MCQ berbentuk macam tu. Dan most of the question dia lebih kurang macam tu. Jadi it takes quite a lot of time untuk student baca. Jadi saya bagi dalam 2 hingga 3 minit satu soalan. Dan yet memang students ada yang siap cepat, ada yang siap lambat. Dan yang siap cepat lambat tu pun dia tak ramai pun yang boleh score pun sebenarnya. Rata-rata markah
macam mana dengan markah, sorry.
Markah sebab
markah dia berapa?
Jadi kuis lagi dalam masa tu dalam 2.5 ke 5 markah je masa tu. Tak banyak pun.
Oh, okey.
Sebab itu memang itu cubaan pertama saya lah buat MCQ. Saya tak pernah buat dan memang saya rasa dihadapi oleh ramai pelajar, ramai lecturer sebenarnya. MCQ yang susah nak buat soalan sebenarnya.
Ya, betul.
Betul kan Dr. Intan kan?
Betul. Itulah percubaan nak buat untuk final exam lah ni, tapi memang cabaran besar lah ni sebenarnya. Cuma sebab kita nak shorten nak pendekkan masa untuk menanda kan, sebab bila semua soalan subjektif ni dengan open ended semua tu, masa kita nak tanda tu pendek. Dengan 100 student tu memang sem lepas memang haywire lah dibuatnya. Tu yang nak cuba juga buat MCQ, tapi kalau MCQ perlu C3 tu agak susah kan kiranya. Tu yang saya perlukan macam input berapa masa untuk student menjawab dengan markah tu yang bersesuaian untuk student kan. Okey, terima kasih PM Hidayat.
Sama-sama. Sebenarnya saya rasalah, ini pendapat saya lah. Cuba kita bagi masa kepada pelajar dalam double kot. Double. Sebab ini selalu digunakan, selalu dekat FKE selalu kita pakai rule of thumb macam tu kalau di FKE. Double. Okey, baik. Terima kasih.
Okey.
Thank you, PM. Nice info, nice sharing.
Thank you, Prof. Terima kasih.
Okey, yang ni ada satu soalan Hidayat, yang general punya. Untuk elakkan isu peniruan sesama pelajar ni, adakah cukup dengan meminta pelajar submit turn in sebelum submit kepada kita?
Adakah cukup?
Ya.
Okey.
Some of us may think that open-ended and hot is not enough.
Yes.
Not enough to reduce or to avoid the integrity ni kan. So kalau kita minta tertinggi dia boleh ke?
Okay, my opinion cukup lah. Kalau tanya pendapat saya cukup. Sebab kalau if the student, if based on the turn in turn in punya similarity index, kalau kita if we set similarity index is, kita kata okay, I only allow you 30% of similarity index, so that's it. Kalau lebih kita tak terima lah. Jadi pada saya is sufficient lah pada saya, sebab ini after all this is also our practice untuk postgraduate student when they submit the thesis. Sama juga dengan bila kita submit our papers to journal, some journals they check for similarity index. Jadi dekat sini kita sebenarnya check for plagiarism lah. This is my opinion lah. Saya punya opinion is enough untuk kita check plagiarism.
Okay, alright. Another question daripada Azri. Pasti pecahan masa kena jadi tinggi lah ya. Kalau
PM Jariah, your mic is not clear, PM Jariah.
hello, dengar? Dengar ke?
Okay, dia.
Dari soalan TS Hairul Azri ni cakap HOTS ni pecahan markah kena jadi tinggi. Kalau tak student terus blur, nanti mereka akan kehilangan banyak markah. So what's your suggestion on that? On the marks distribution.
Okay, alright. Kalau itu yang tadi tu, dia benda ni reflect kepada yang unguided tadi tu lah, yang unguided. Kalau kita if we are about to give students, kita nak buat pecahan markah sikit-sikit, jadi dia jadi unguided. Bila dia jadi guided question, when it becomes to guided question, dia dah tak jadi hot dah nanti. Jadi that is the trade-off yang kita kena hadapi bila kita bagi unguided question. Tetapi macam mana soalan tu janganlah terus kita bagi satu soalan terus 25%. No lah, kita jangan bagi macam tu. Sebab tu bila saya tak kalau macam mana, kalau dalam soalan saya walaupun soalan subjek tahun 4, still I have question yang dalam 5 marks at least dalam 3 hingga 5 atau 6 yang sebenarnya cater soalan lower level. So sebenarnya kita nak cater student yang lain-lain ni untuk dapat markah kat situ. Kemudian the rest of the question dekat situ kita boleh varies the marks, sama ada kita nak letak level dia, mula-mula soalan tu level analysis, kemudian soalan tu level evaluate tu mungkin kita boleh letak dalam 4 mark ke 5 marks, and then 5 to 5 dah 10, and then another 15 marks ke ataupun 10 marks. So sebenarnya dia tak ada satu rules, tapi dia macam kita macam ni, dia ikut subject matter expert lah. Pada saya sebenarnya subject matter expert, they know how the students can really answer the question. Kadang-kadang kita boleh agak student boleh jawab sampai sini je. Walaupun mark 15, sometimes we know that at least student boleh jawab 10 marks. Sometimes. Right? Sebab tu saya nak subject matter expert is orang yang mengajar subjek tu, dia lebih faham the nature of the subject. Okay, we respect you are the expert of the subject, you are the one who knows the content of the subject. Jadi that is the freedom for you how you want to ask the students. But sebagai at the faculty level, faculty still kena jaga, kena buat vetting. Macam yang lepas memang saya tahulah semua fakulti ada buat. Jadi fakulti still kena melihat dari segi the level of the question, sama ada dia achieve hot ke tak, open ended ke tidak dan sebagainya, sebab dia nak jaga tu untuk quality akademik. Tapi kalau sampai satu level, mungkin kalau fakulti rasa tak ni, mungkin boleh panggil pensyarah tersebut dan tanyalah, minta view dia. Lepas tu mungkin boleh bagi advice lah kalau untuk improve lain ke macam mana. Itu saya punya my opinion.
Dr. Hidayat, saya ada soalan, boleh ke? Tentang
boleh.
Yang saya Radiah dari UTeM, tentang perbezaan HOTS dengan LOTS itu kan, berdasarkan contoh yang Dr. Hidayat berikan tadi. Sebab masalah kami sebegini,
masa kami vetting, ada soalan yang kami akan anggap itu sebenarnya hot, tetapi ada sebahagian akan menganggapkan itu lots. Sedangkan bila kita melihatkan jawapan yang kita sediakan itu, skema yang kita tu memang ke arah hot. Jadi macam mana kita nak tanggani supaya orang lain yang melihat soalan kita itu tidak menganggap itu bukan hot. Itu yang nak, macam mana caranya?
Wah, susah. Susah apa Prof Radiah?
Apa ni doktor biasa je.
Okey Dr. Radiah. Okey. Nak jawab soalan ni memang susah sebenarnya sebab actually benda ni is very subjective. Benda ni sangat subjektif. Dia memang satu argument yang memang tak akan selesai sampai bila pun. Okey, dia sebab tu saya lebih keen, saya lebih keen the subject matter expert adalah orang yang boleh tentukan the depth of the question. The depth of the question. However, kalau orang lain dia argue, mungkin dia kena ada consolidation yang mana orang yang katakanlah seorang yang pakar dalam bidang tanya soalan ni lah, HOTS ke LOTS ni kan, dia pun tak boleh, seorang pakar pun dia tak boleh simply nak kata ni LOTS ke HOTS without knowing the content of the subject. Jadi dia kena sit together, kena bincang. Dia tak boleh seorang-seorang sebab mungkin yang subject matter expert dia tak tahu nak create the question. Yang ini pula dia tak tahu the depth of the content. So dia kena bersama-sama. So itu je kaedah yang kita boleh buat. Kalau ada orang query, sebab benda ni memang very subjektif. Saya nak tunjuk example ni pun, sebenarnya saya berbincang juga dengan beberapa orang pensyarah lah. Bila saya dah letak ni, saya letak contoh saya letak macam tadi saya letak soalan ni, saya rasa dia level C3. Higher ke C4 kan. Tapi lepas tu bila saya tunjuk dekat seorang pensyarah, dia kata no, dia rasa ini bukan C4, ni C3. Saya kata C4. Tapi saya ada argument saya. Kenapa C4? Dia kata dia C3, dia ada argument dia. And then saya back to the owner of the subject. Saya tanya, you ada ke ajar yang ini sekian. And then saya balik semula kepada slide saya reduce. Saya kata saya agree C3. Kenapa? Sebab saya berdasarkan tu. So benda-benda ni very subjektif dan kita kena respect kita punya subject owner, dan subject owner must also respect those who give the opinion lah tentang level of the question. Memang sebab tu dia sangat grey sebenarnya. Dia sangat grey. Especially yang dekat C3 tu. Tambah-tambah lagi macam soal subjek ni. Kalau macam subjek, saya bagi contoh kalau macam subjek dia untuk power system, we have a subject we call it as power system analysis. Power system analysis. Subjek tu je dah dipanggil analysis. Tapi doesn't mean the question is actually fall under C4. C4. Tak semestinya. Sebab student just apply je apa dia belajar lah dekat dalam kelas. Tetapi macam mana kita nak jadikan dia tu, kita tengok juga the difficulty, macam mana kita nak selesaikan soalan tu. Kalau soalan tu memang student memang nak fahamkan soalan pun, student kena analyse dulu the question, dia kena faham dulu the nature of the question. Dekat situ baru kita boleh jatuhkan ni lah. Kalau kita just bagi je value, kita bagi je simple value, simple macam tu, dan guna je equation tu untuk analyse, dia sebab dia tak jadilah. Itu I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question, Dr. Radiah, tapi dia memang kena ada consolidation antara dua orang ni. Memang dia tak boleh.
You did answer, because you did answer my question. It's just that sometimes when we teach, like you said, even the question on definition, the fact that if you reply, just answer what is given in class, then the student might just go on under level 1. The problem is that when you have this open book exam or take home exam, then the students will have more materials to look at. Then in that sense, can it that the same under the same level definition. You use the term definition, but because they have more materials to look at, and then by the time they produce the answer will be some sort of some kind of like a combination of all the materials that they have, and then they just keep on answer. That would be then that definition will not be just level 1, right? That would be a more like level 4 or level 3, because
yes,
will be creating.
Yes, I do agree with
because
that. Yes.
Yeah, because that is happening in our field like this a lot with the non-technical field like linguistics, language, literature, history, and so forth. But I guess for you guys in science, then it would be a lot easier to see rather than for us, because we have this gray area. There's not so much black and white in terms of giving the answers.
Okay, that's why. Okay, thanks, Prof. Okay, I do agree with that, because the level of the question is not just by looking at the verb yang kita tanya apply ke, kadang-kadang belum sendiri dia suggest ada verb tertentu kan, tapi sebenarnya the nature of the question is more important. Soalan tu, the nature of the question is more important. Doesn't mean that when you ask to define this, sebenarnya benda tu dia jatuh kategori C1. Tak semestinya. Kalau macam you kata tadi, kalau subjek linguistik dan sebagainya, then the definition dia boleh broad dan dia boleh mencakupi banyak lain referensi lain. Kemudian daripada some information that you give the student ni, or student need to define, bagi satu, katakanlah, saya bagi satu contoh lah kan, bagi contoh. You bagi karangan kepada student, bagi satu karangan, kemudian you minta student suggest the topic. Bagi topik untuk, bagi topik je, give the topic. Okay, kalau dia kata give, sebenarnya suggest lah kan. Suggest tu dia kena analyse ke evaluate. Tapi dia macam simple je, jawapan dia simple je, short answer je. Tapi in order for them to answer that question, dia kena analyse dan sebagainya baru dia boleh. Sebab dulu saya bagi satu contoh, saya tak pernah kena soalan ni, tapi kawan saya pernah. Seorang profesor dia tanya soalan, dia bagi macam-macam, tapi jawapannya kosong je. In order to answer that question, student faham the nature of the question, dia kena analyse the question, sebelum dia jawab, jawapan tu kosong. Ada student jawab kira-kira macam nak rak, tapi jawapannya kosong je. Kenapa? Because of this. That's it, itu je. Okay, jadi saya more on the nature of the question rather than you just guna je word yang digunakan, yang dipropose dalam Bloom lah. Tapi bukanlah kita wording dalam Bloom tu still helpful. Cuma actually the way we design, dia tak boleh macam simply kita kata evaluate ke apa, tapi sebenarnya soalan tu nature tak evaluate pun. Dia tak boleh macam tu lah. Ini opinion lah. Saya agree lah sebenarnya. Dr. Radia.
Terima kasih, Dr. Hidayat.
We can limit the discussion but it's already 12 o'clock, 1 hour past the seminar kan. Just before that, a very quick response on how ada soalan daripada Dr. Zumarjom ni and also the rest. Kita nak sub upkan link antara question tadi, lepas tu dengan rubrik dengan masa. Can you give that? Can you give the perspective of designing question to relate these three?
Ulang.
Maksudnya
Jariah.
To relate the HOTS item tu dalam question dengan distribution of marks and also the time allocated for that particular question. Itu berkait kan? So how do we balance that?
Relate distribution of marks, hot dengan masa kan?
Yeah. How we design that? Sebab I sum up from the question that most of us are having difficulties in really.
Okay. Jariah? Putus lah.
Jariah, you lost.
Okay, tak apa. Saya I try to answer that. Okay.
Alright.
Okay. First kali markah kita tetap 25 markah setiap soalan. Setiap soalan ataupun 100% lah. Our marks given memang 100%. Dan masa yang kita bagi juga 2 jam ke 3 jam kan. Okay. Cuba nak jawab soalan ni maknanya kalau kita bahagikan masa tu katakan 3 jam dengan 100%. Okay.
Dr. Hidayat?
Susahlah. Itu by calculation kita boleh bagi macam tu. Tapi dari segi nak jawab soalan tu tadi. Okey, sebenarnya yang reflex tu yang nak jawab berapa lama yang student boleh jawab. Okay, sebab kalau kita nak kira calculative, if you want to be calculative macam tu, markah tetap 100, masa tetap 2 jam, 2 jam setengah atau 3. Okay, dia depends on the subject. Ada subjek 2 jam setengah, ada subjek 3 jam, ada subjek 2 jam. So depends. Okay, so itu memang kita dah tak boleh sambung lah sebab ada lain-lain. Tapi kalau dari segi jawapan, itu supposedly dia reflect kepada masa belajar. Okay, dia supposedly reflect kepada masa belajar. So contoh maknanya kalau student ambil masa, kalau kita jawab 1 jam, ini rule of thumb lah yang biasa kami pakai di FKE. Biasa student mesti boleh jawab dalam tempoh mampulah. Kalau kita bagi student half an hour, we should be able to answer the question 50 minutes. Lebih kurang macam itulah. Ini just simple approach lah yang biasa kami pakai dekat FKE macam itulah. Alright? Tapi tak semestinya macam itulah, tapi ini macam satu kaedah lah untuk kita to be fair kepada students. Kalau lebih-lebih sikit 15 minit, 20 minit tu okey lah kan. Alright, kemudian itu yang pertama dari segi masa. Dari segi markah, dari segi pemarkahan pula soalan, kalau ini academic freedom, saya pun tak boleh nak bagi the exact macam mana. Tapi kaedah saya, kalau saya marking, kalau saya bagi markah student, selalunya kalau ada satu jalan kerja tu, saya akan bagi 1 atau 2 markah. So, ada berapa step, kalau ada 10 step, biasanya saya akan bagi 1 markah ataupun 2 markah dalam setiap step, every step. So, lebih mudah untuk saya marking rather than ada soalan, ada ni 0.5, ada yang ini 3 ke. So, I prefer to make my marking time easier. Okay, saya akan bagi 1 step 1 markah, 1 step 1 markah, ataupun 1 step 2 markah. Mungkin step yang ini macam ambil masa lama sikit nak kira tekan calculator tu, saya bagi 2 markah. Macam tu. Saya itu cara saya lah. Saya tu soalan tu susah nak jawab sebenarnya. Dia tak ada ni. Tapi mungkin kalau nak ada guideline macam tu, itu dah macam kita too calculative, nanti susah pula orang nak follow. Tapi it must be reasonable. Dia tak boleh lah macam leeway sangat. Jalan kerja pendek tapi markah sampai 10. So tak boleh lah pula kan. Ataupun jalan kerja panjang tapi markah 2 je. So we are not fair to the students. Sebenarnya fair ni very subjective.
Alright, PM Hidayat. We accept that we end up with the open education. Jadi jawapan dia pun ada banyak-banyak kan. So
jawapan dia ada banyak.
Jadi akademik lah nanti yang tu.
Dr. Sazali Shah.
Tadi saya ada tanya soalan pasal skema. Saya tak dapat tangkap tadi apa tadi PM Mariam ada sebut. Sebab saya tanya pasal skema sebab untuk soalan tadi yang PM Hidayat sebut tu tadi, dia berkaitan juga dengan skema sebenarnya. Sebab cara buat skema tu pun kena jelas. Kadang-kadang SME pun dia tak berapa jelas nak buat skema dengan JPU tu. So nak trust SME pun tak berapa tepat jugalah. So ada jawapan ke tadi pasal soalan saya tu? Sorry.
Alright. Okay. Tadi PM Hidayat boleh bagi quick jawapan. Tadi Dr. Zainuddin ada tanya how to, because bila kita dah develop soalan sama juga tadi kan macam kita nak kena develop rubric. Tapi kita tak ada banyak sangat masa. Kita ada second slot nanti on vetting. Sebenarnya itu jawapan PM Mariam tadi Dr. Zainuddin. Kita ada slot pada 19 hari bulan on how to vet, yang kat situ nanti kita akan beri penekanan untuk vetting question tu sekali dengan question dengan rubrik dia sekali. Tapi mungkin kalau just a quick answer, PM Hidayat boleh kot bagi macam mana nak sebab masa kita develop question tu kita kena develop rubrik juga kan. So macam mana nak alignkan rubrik untuk open-ended question ni. Just a quick one.
Saya macam mana saya tak faham sangat tadi soalannya sebab macam soalannya tadi macam skema tu tak jelas. Tapi jawatankuasa kat fakulti dia tak boleh faham tapi subject matter expert dia tak provide skema yang jelas. Tu macam mana?
No, I mean ada komen tadi kata kita trust the SME tapi SME pun kadang-kadang dia buat soalan dan juga JPU dan skema kadang-kadang dia pun tak berapa faham nak buat skema tu. So macam tak kena lah. Sebab biasanya talk tentang question ni dia tak includekan skema. So kalau dapat lah, tapi tadi kata akan ada satu sesi tentang skema dan vetting. So that's good lah.
Sepatutnya, okay, kalau saya boleh respon tu, sepatutnya bila kita hantar soalan tu kena datangkan skema. Sepatutnya lah. Dia must the vetter easier. Kalau sebab vetter mungkin vetter ada right untuk request. Moderator ada right untuk request from kan?
PM Hidayat, itulah Dr. Sazlin tanya tu macam mana nak bangunkan rubrik tu, rubrik untuk open-ended question ni yang nak disubmit sekali dengan question tu. Okay.
Oh ni rubrik. Oh okay. Rubrik untuk open-ended. Okay, open-ended ni ada banyak open-ended. Ada open-ended yang tak perlu rubrik pun. Ada open-ended yang memang dia ada banyak jawapan yang calculation, dia bagi range, dia boleh bagi student, okay, these are the range of the values you need to assume based on this value. So jawapan boleh ada banyak-banyak. So itu tak perlu rubrik. Tapi kalau soalan yang open end yang mungkin yang jenis yang kena bagi justifikasi kan, justify kenapa dan itu pun boleh jadi open ended. Itu pun mungkin tak perlukan rubrik juga sebab dia boleh ada justification, pelbagai justification. So dia macam as long as dia make sense, so pun kita boleh, itu pun boleh jadi ni. Yang penting yang siapa yang lecturer yang buat skema jawapan, dia boleh tulis lah. Saya tulis beberapa jawapan. Lepas tu saya tulis kat bawah tu saya kata any possible answers also, yang reasonable answer pun boleh diterima. So mana yang kita rasa boleh diterima, kita terima lah. Rubrik ni saya rasa dia lebih kepada macam exam yang AC ke, saya tak tahulah. Ini saya punya opinion lah. Kalau yang AC mungkin. Saya tak berapa yang untuk rubrik ni dia, sebab saya tak biasa buat soalan yang memerlukan rubrik sebab nanti menyusahkan saya juga sebenarnya. Boleh ke jawapan macam tu? Mungkin saya rasa sesi yang lain kot mungkin yang rubrik tu.
Alright. Kita akan highlight masa sesi vetting nanti pada 19 bulan. Boleh yang lain juga join, terbuka dan wajib untuk nama yang telah diberikan oleh wakil-wakil yang telah diberikan oleh fakulti. Okay, PM Mariam boleh pass to you.
Right, thank you PM Jariah and thank you to PM Dr. Hidayat for the sharing. So before we leave this session, so I believe that today sharing is beneficial to all academic staff, especially in preparing the course assessment and final exam question using open book method, which is the one that shared by Prof. Zamberi, and then the open exam question that is shared using HOTS, which is shared by PM Dr. Hidayat. So definitely, if you have question regarding the open book type question, staff, we advise that please refer first to your faculty top management. Means that because in the end, for the vetting of the question is that the TDA and HOD will be one of your vetters. Okay, so make sure that you refer back to your faculty top management in school, so your dean, your HOD, and your TDA. Okay, so summarizing for this today's session on the open book. So to summarize today's session is that I would like to mention to all staff academic, please refer back to the peculiar link that we will later share this peculiar link in the website, CAES website, under the today's topic. So there are three main items. So garis panduan pelaksanaan peperiksaan atas talian. And then we have the lampiran or the appendix, garis panduan pelaksanaan peperiksaan dalam talian, and also for the online teaching guideline, which is prepared by PSTP during last semester. So those should be the guideline that all academic staff need to refer before start preparing your exam, your online exam question. Okay, so and I think for Prof. Dr. Zamberi also have shared on the difference between the closed-ended question and how to actually convert it into the open-ended type question, and what are the features of open-ended question. So this one, you can refer back to the slide that we will share in the link. And for summary on PM Dr. Hidayat session is that on the guidelines for HOTS, so there are three main steps. The main step that I will just make a quick summary on it. So the main step to actually prepare for the online open book question is that first is we need to actually refer back to our LO, which is learning outcome for our course. And the second one is that to design or reflect to the HOTS value. So how or the thinking HOTS for level C3 and C6. And the third step is to design the question based on the suitable allocated time. So it should be realistic and manageable. And lastly is that we should also remind our students that prepare for the online exam. So this is what PM Hidayat shared on the misconception by students. So it shouldn't be an easy question. So by doing that is that we should give students similar types of question to practice during weekly class. Means that we have class weekly with students. So give them quizzes, which is MCQ question, open type question, which is similar. So assignment that have similar type of open-ended questions, so that when they are familiar with this question, I believe that student will be able to answer this type of question later in the final assessment or final exam. Okay, so I think that will be the summary for today's webinar. And for the participants, you can download the PDF file for both speakers from the link that we have shared in the chat. And for the recording for today's session, you can go to YouTube. You just type CAES, CAES, UTeM. So you can just go to our YouTube and just recap on the today's session if you didn't get to join us from the start. So a reminder to all. So CAES, we have 2 more webinar next week. So the first one will be, which is on the screen, is on the kursus pengurusan stress. So how to manage stress during this pandemic. So you know that we have, as academician, we have lots of things to deliver. We have teaching, we have research to be done. And one thing that we need to make sure that our stress level, it's controlled, as under control. So please don't forget to join us next Monday. So we have a session, and our speaker is internal speaker from Dr. Norida, binti Abdullah from IPTK. So let's join the session. Okay, just santai-santai saja. And for the next week we have another webinar which is on the vetting on Thursday. So Thursday we have 19 November. We have from 9 to 4 p.m. So this one will be an open session. So the compulsory for participate is those which is the TDAs, and for the HOD is compulsory to attend. For the other staff, you can also join us if you would like to learn on the vetting on online open examination question. And so the speaker will be the same speaker from today. So there will be even sharing on how to vet for this online examination question. Yeah, of course, we do not limit to this speaker only. If there is a sharing from other participant, we really welcome. Okay, so I think that will be all for today. So hopefully today's session was beneficial to all, and I think that will be all from CAES. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.